It's never about you. It's always about the politicians. As EKURU always says, it's never about you. And Dr. Juang anasemanga kwamba if there's a biggest conman, ni mtu anaitwa Wanjiku. Conman mkuu sana. Haya, as usual, I request that you join in, please like. When you like, I get to know that you're watching us, and that you like, please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. This is Sheria Wiki, Friday the 7th of May 2021. Friday the 7th May 2021. This is Sheria Wiki with Dr. EKURU AUKOT, ARNOLD MALIBA na RHODA KIBUNJA. Kama kawaida, kabla tuanze kazi lazima tuende mbele za Mungu tuombe. Halafu nikirudi na kuja kuwapa salamu zenu. Haya, mighty Father, we come before you this morning. We worship you, glorify your name. Thank you for another day that you've given us to be alive. We thank you for what you've given us to do. We pray that you start this program, may you be with us. Even the tacklers are joining in, may be able to meet them at the individual point of needs. Even for the panelists, I pray that they speak to the nation. May we overvalue and may we edify our country. Father, as we start with us, when you finish, glory and honor shall come back to your name. In Jesus' mighty name, I pray and believe. Amen and amen. Haya, kuna watu wameamka tayari hapa. Darlington Karaoke anasema yuko ndani. Asante sana. Rotich, Kiblaka Rotich anasema good morning to you. Cheriat Isokip yuko ndani. Agnes Kimnai anasema good morning to you. By the way, tutaanza uniambie jana wabunge walizungumza wakapiga kura yao. Wengine walipiga yes, wengine walipiga no. Lakini nafasi ya mwananchi pia kusema ya kwamba yeye anafikiria vipi. Wewe kama mwananchi unafikiria kura yako iko wapi? You have an opportunity to vote. Unajua kupiga kura kwa katiba ya EKURU AUKOT wacha nyingine inasema ya kwamba chapter 1, the power belongs to the people. So we the people, kama unataka kupiga kura yako niambie kura yako iko yes ama no kwenye BBI. Are you voting for BBI or rejecting BBI? Unaweza piga simu, nambari ni 0779-800-010 au 779-800-010. Niambie tu mbunge wako alipiga kura gani jana? Unasikia kwamba alikuwakilisha ama hakukuwakilisha. Kama mwananchi, are you voting yes or no for the document? Yes or no for the document. So when you call in, please tell me if you're voting for the document or against the document. Mahali mbunge wako alipiga kura jana na kama unafikiria kwamba alikuwakilisha ama hakukuwakilisha, please call in 0779-800-010 kama kawaida o 779-800-010 o 779-800-010 o 779-800-010. Niko na nabii hapa EKURU AUKOT na niko na ARNOLD MALIBA. Nimeona pia nimeweka nambari vibaya na ARNOLD MALIBA na RHODA KIBUNJA. Tutakuja kuzungumza na nyinyi, utaambia kwamba alieno mahali ulipo unafikiria kwamba mbunge wako alikuwakilisha jana ama vipi, na pia unaweza piga kura yako yes or no for BBI. Haya, Darlington Karaoke nimekuwa na Isokip, nimekuwa na Agnes Kimnai na kuona Signal Dennis Kiprodiges na good morning to you. Johnson Koej, nimeona kuna comments ambazo zimepotea pia pale juu, kama sijasoma comment yako pole sana. Johnson Koej anasema good morning watching from Detain. Rashid Arapela Arap Chemaswet. Roger number 3 from Cheptais, asante sana. Gakifit good morning from Thika. James Mutinda good morning Bitoko watching from Sentikumi Likoni Mombasa, asante sana. Afkitau a very day to hear from them, asante. Kimtai Vini anasema good morning. Pastor Moses Kamau good morning from the islands of the Green Rift Valley, asante. Bore Clement good morning, already tuned in, thank you. Elton Jones Pajero anasema good morning. Elton from Kapsabet, I'm going Nandi County, mvua kwa wingi. Haya, pandeni miti bana. Haya, Karoki wa Masa watching from Kayole, but I'm very much disappointed with MPs who voted yes. Haya, wewe Karoki unaweza piga simu tuambie kura yako iko wapi, kama kura yako iko kwa no ama iko yes. Unafikiria kama mbunge wako alikuwakilisha ama hakukuwakilisha. Nambari ni 0779-800-010 o 779-800-010 o 779-800-010. Simu iko wazi, you can call and tell me where your vote is. Okay, naona Lawrence Kigen kimnasema good morning to class. Uduma Isli logged in as the bold and the credible informer, thank you, I appreciate. Nazarite Kosgan sama good morning my brother watching live from Bomet, good to see you. Kuna schoolmate hapa ama ni area mate wa Daktari EKURU AUKOT, anaitwa Munga Aluta Continua. Ata Munga morning team tackle tuning in from Coventry, United Kingdom, busy looking for a movie director and a financer to shoot a movie called A Day in Kenyan Politics. A complete madness yesterday. The MPs proved to be the champion of their own stomachs. No surprise there, lakini mbele tuko sawa inshallah. Salimia wageni wote. Just asking Dr. EKURU AUKOT, punguza mzigo imefika wapi? Punguza mzigo iko www.punguzamizigo.org, www.punguzamizigo.com. Please kama ujaendorse kimbia pale uingie uweke kufanya endorsement www.punguzamizigo.org, punguzamizigo.org. Haya, Mwangi Waweru anasema yuko Juja, asante sana Kipkait William, very good morning, a very very good morning to you sir. Ama sasa kama huko kwetu tangu tutoe vijana menja mvua inachapa kuchapa. Haya, alizimvua ili heshimu vijana ambao walikuwa kwenye menja, alikuwa training school ya KMTC. Haya, Evan Sarap Sarap good morning GB from Nakuru, asante sana. Gideon Kimtai good morning. John W Karaoke good morning. Ashtak Tetakol Java Chepke Mai mheshimiwa Elgeo Mara kwa sababu good morning GB, good morning to you madam. Mwana wa Msimbi Kiambu tuko locked, asante. Lo Shamu Roti Junior good morning, Tackle tuned in from Nairobi, good to see you bro this morning, it's good to see you my brother. Kenny Kens good morning, locked in from Eldoret. Mwangi Waweru amen. Elias Chepkiang starting with prayers is great, asante sana. Kama unajua mahali Mungu amekutoa lazima uweke maombi. Haya, na Naona Sharon Richards, good morning to you. Muso JB, good morning. Be talk tuned in from Donham. Mwana wa Msimbi, my vote is a no. Haya, niambie kura yako iko wapi? Yes or no? Yes or no? BBI, yes or no? Haya, tusikie jamaa anasemaje. Nipe simu hapo tafadhali, producer. Jambo, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes or no?
Jambo.
Jambo kaka.
It's something in between. No and no.
Again, wewe mwenye ulirig elections ya Kettle Deep, wewe kwanza una sauti.
Unajua Gerald singekuwa mwandishi leo.
Niambie kaka.
Ningeandika labda hekaya.
Za Abunwasi ama za nani?
Na singekosa katika ile riwaya. Singekosa kuandika kuhusu wale wabunge wetu. Na pale tumekuwa na some of the best characters.
Kitabu ungeita vipi? Hicho kitabu ungekiita vipi?
Labda tungesema kichwa maji ama tumbo maji.
Haya.
Tukizungumzie sana kile kitabu. Lakini kule mwisho wakati wa kuandika, wakati wa kumalizia kile kitabu. Ama huku juu labda tunge-invite watu kama wewe na kina Prophet hapo.
Nabii mkuu.
Waweze kuiendorse pole pole.
Yuko tayari, ni kanzu tu namtafutia. Ilikuwa inatoka pale Egypt.
Anyway, sema kweli wale watu kusema kweli it's not about us, it is about them, na tushakubali. And I once said I think a few weeks ago that the problem is not even with the MPs. The problem is with the society, because the MPs come from the society.
Yes.
Kwa vile hata saa hizi tukipatiwa sana nafasi ya kuchagua, tutaenda mbali sana na hapo. You know, more than 70% of those MPs are going back to parliament. So I think the country has just accepted that, and it's the time to kubali how ni sisi. Yeah, but in instance, even people, there is no, I think it will take time before wabunge, because I noticed that labda ni wachache sana ambao tunaweza tukatizama na notice that there's something wrong, but then if you walk into villages, watu wanazungumza tukitaka na support, even some people don't know who voted what and how.
Okay.
Kuna hata watu wajui BBI ilivotiwa jana kwingineko.
So mbunge wako alipiga kura wapi? Ndio ama la?
Asi unajua kwenye natoka wewe.
Mimi sijui unatoka wapi. Wewe sema. Kwani kura na mahali unatoka inahusikana vipi?
Unajua Kenya huwa tunapiga regional bana. Sasa huko tulisema no. Lakini iko tu sawa.
Unafikiria kwamba alikuwakilisha mawazo yako kama mwananchi?
Labda yale si mawazo yangu. Labda ningesema no, lakini kwa fikira zingine. Maana yake pia nikisikia fikira za wale waliokuwa wanasema no.
Fikira yako ingekuwa vipi? Fikira yako ingekuwa vipi?
Unajua fikira yangu ingekuwa labda haijafika muda wa kupiga kura. Ningesema hapana, manake kwa muda wa kupiga kura haujafika. Tupatiwe muda kwanza tuelewe ni nini tunapigia kura. Manake hata hivi majuzi tumesikia kuna wengine walidiscuss BBI 1, wengine wakadiscuss BBI 2, wengine hata hawajui kama ni BBI walidiscuss. So I think it's not yet time to vote for that particular document. Okay. I think it was the right time for people to sit down, discuss it, and also tungekaa wote tuelezane za nini inatufaa haitufai. Lakini kwa sasa piga kura. So labda singepiga hata kura, ama ningesema tusipige kura kwa sasa. Na maana yake kuna vitu vingi ambavyo,
lakini umekuwa na mwaka mzima kuweza kusoma hii document. Kwani umekuwa ukifanya nini?
No, you see Gerald wakati wa kusoma the document is not out here ati imewekwa sasa ikase. Unajua imekuwa ni kitu fiche. Manake it is not for me to go to the cyber na nianze kuiprint. Labda mimi nimeisoma, manake labda niko mjini na naweza nikafika pale cyber nikaidownload nikapitia pole. Lakini pia kuna kule kuelewa, kuna wanasheria kama kina EKURU wangepatiwa za muda wamueleza mamangu na mama mboga wenzake, wamwambie tafadhali mama, hapa hivi tukisema hivi tunamaanisha hivi. Tukisema takuwa na prime minister, takuwa na huyu na huyu, kazi ya huyu itakuwa hii. Manake kwa sasa tuna upungufu mahali fulani, ama kwa sasa tuhitaji mtu fulani. Kwa sasa tunahitaji kuongeza constituency, manake kuna watu fulani labda tunahisi hawajafikiwa. Wao wangeelewa hivyo, labda that is when we can make a decision. But then we are making a decision where the majority of the people don't even know what they are voting for. That's exactly what I see.
Hiyo ndio shida yako.
Yeah.
Haya, sawa basi chairman, menokwisha Kettle Deep. Salimia watu wamenokwisha na wache kuiba kura. Haya, nabii amesalimika na RHODA pia yuko hapa na pia Arnold Maliba. Tungekuwa kumpea mbunge, lakini masaa yake ni mbaya, atakuwa anachelewa bunge. Lakini ni sawa tu. Haya, kuwa na siku njema. Haya, niambie kura yako iko wapi, kama ni yes or no, na unafikiria kwamba mbunge wako aliwakilisha mawazo yako ama ni vipi? Nambari ni 07798010 au 07798010. Kura yako iko wapi? Yes or no BBI? Haya, Marion Eva check anasema I tackling from City Cabanas, I'm voting no. Gakife anasema kura yake iko kwa no. Kipkalia Arab Kosgen, good morning my brother. GB tuned in from Rainbow State. Kipkalia Arab Kipkali Arab Kosgei on behalf of my daughter and wife and the people of Ndara Weather. I vote no. Haya. Janakan Banana morning watching from Westlands. Kurako iko wapi? Evan Saraf Seron sama yuko no. Maria Skipkurui. So good morning team tackle tuning from Nairobi, Kenya. My aim is to say no to mutation and capture of our constitution. David Kitur. Good morning watching from Kapsabet. Lawrence Kigen Kiblaga rejecting the BBI with all my body parts and organs. Ebi my band represent my views. Haya. Sharon Korir, good morning to you. Sharon, niambie Kurako iko wapi? Yes or no? Tindra sama good morning team tackle. Good morning to Lagat K Moses. Good morning Gerald logged in from Nairobi. Asante Chepchitit Kutoe. Good morning GB. Hope they would amend some parts. Okay. Rebecca Amunga and some morning GB Maradaima tuko ndani ya takola. Asante Kurako iko wapi? Yes or no? Good morning Arab Bitoko Chamegetu. Asante sana Nels Murray, Chaps Murray, Korir Bismarck. When you're so disappointed with our leaders, but God is on our side. Tutaiangusha. Haya. Bob tunasema Lord tackle. Good morning to you sir. Glovers tena Arama Kawa some good morning to class. Sheria Week kindly explain what happens with court orders that advise the IBC not to conduct referendum till the case is decided. What timing now that we are headed to referendum? My vote is no. Live from Kipchabo 029. Kura neno. Aya, Langat kansama say to EKURU AUKOT asante. And I love the stand of Orengo. He's a leader. Sharon Koskansama Willis Evans Otieno. Enjoy the conversation. Asante. Just to talk. Yesterday vote was consequential. Yangu ni no from EMC. EKURU AUKOT salamu ndugu. Amesalimiana hapo. Jared Kimeto Tapsago anasema good morning GB. Good morning to you. Good Friday to you. Mheshimiwa Tapsago Iward Mwangi Simon Gasman Indeya. Kuna kwa yes ama no. Haya. Anasema au your MP voted. Honorable Yusuf Hassan yes. Okay. Hiyo ni list sasa ya watu ambao Hayo list ni mrefu sana sitaisoma. Abraham Chelanga anasema no. Abraham Chelanga from Eldoret. Maria anasema bunga la wanyama I say no to them. Kimeli Barno anasema tackling from Eldoret. Kia anasema looking for an opportunity to network with you wakili unatafutwa Nabii. Lagat anasema we need to generation transformation through people like you. Okay. Unaona Venono Ngeje Samu Kenya na so silly. Sorry to say we elect leaders after they come back home and give us 50 bob. We mature and choose leaders through development. Then we can say no to BBI. Abraham Chelanga anasema punda wanakufa. Seti kuchoka tena is now a rescue mission. Do or die. Haya. Watu wanasema sasa sijui hizi kura walisema wapi. Watu wanaona vote no. Paul Bitoka amesema no. Robert from Atlanta anasema no. Willy Koech anasema no. Kapombe anasema Tundi from Longo say to EKURU AUKOT and the entire tacklers. Just as Rotumoya anasema I vote no. Yes, hizo kura zilitoka wanasema they representing the people. Nabii, kama uliona hii mambo ikikuja.
Nilikwambia tangu zamani.
Nyorosha microphone yako kidogo.
Nilikwambia tangu zamani that wa Kenya we are on our own. Yeah. Masaibu ile tunapitia kila siku wabunge wajali. In fact, part of the reason I stopped watching any local news is because I don't want my blood pressure to go up because of this kind of drama we are seeing every day. I mean, I was shocked to learn that someone like Ngunjiri Wambugu.
Kimani Ngunjiri, no? Kimani Ngunjiri from Nakuru.
Kimani Ngunjiri, from Nakuru Bahati, one of William Ruto's lieutenants, diehard lieutenant, commander-in-chief, Watangatanga Brigade. Ati pia alipiga yes. So unashindwa. The level of dishonesty in this country is nauseating. And you see, I've seen comments from people saying that these leaders come from us. It's okay. But you see, there is one big test this leadership has failed. And you've asked the right question. How did your member of parliament vote? Is this representing you? The person who sent him to parliament? Of course no. So we are on our own. So tuache tukulia. Tukubali tu.
Tukubali mateso.
Tukubali. Unajua sisi
hizo wanasema amuka tutezeke.
Tumefika. We are willing slaves. You know, it's how much you want to protect the master. So we are on our own. So that is the saddest reality.
Okay. Yeah. Usikio jamaa anasemaje jambo?
Hello jambo.
Good morning.
Habari ya Bitok?
Safi. Nani huyu?
Ketera hapa DHL.
Mambo DHL. Ulipiga kura yes ama no? Kura yako iko wapi?
No bwana, I was represented by one Kindiki Kiduri.
Kindiki Kiduri?
That guy spoke a lot of sense in that thing bwana.
Okay, so kura yako iko kwa no?
Kura yangu iko kwa no, waje wajinga wengine wanapelekwa na pesa hapa.
Haya. Asante salimia tu DHL.
Sawa, thank you.
Asante. Ekuru watu wako.
Na watu wanauliza, naona watu wanauliza punguza mizigo imefika wapi? Like I think you have said, punguza mizigo is ongoing. People are actually signing online. So at least now that we are talking technology here at the TACO, endelea kusign punguza mizigo. We will have to undo the damage BBI is actually doing to this country. Because the damage is too much. It's no longer actually about has at our ages now. Actually, I'm even thinking now, is it even about my children now or their children and their children? So that is the burden we are looking into, and we have to undo it by all means,
by fire by thunder. Okay, jambo, habari asubuhi.
Nzuri sana.
Yes or no?
I'm calling from Nairobi. Mimi niko no.
Kwa nini?
Hii kitu hakuna. Hiyo EKURU AUKOT tunataka hiyo punguza mzigo.
Punguza mzigo, kimbia pale www.punguzamizigo.org. Weka kidole.
Yes. Hata.
Mbunga wako alipiga wapi?
Ndio mpizo wangu ni wawili.
Uko na wawili?
Niko na Bomet.
Why are you a civic polygamist? Haya, uko na Bomet na wapi?
Na Nairobi hapa mpakati.
Okay.
Kama ni west. So, wa Nairobi ameteza kama yeye alipiga no. Watu wa huko nyumbani Ushago sasa ndiye aliharibu maneno.
Muumana.
Lakini ile kitu linishangaza. Ni jamaa Nakuru. Jamaa for the last 2 years amekuwa akipinga BBI.
Akiwaambia BBI ni kitu mbaya.
Yes. Alafu yesterday anatuambia ati alisikiza wananchi. So nashindwa wananchi wa gani tena?
Nafikiri alirudi nyumbani.
That's dishonest. Unajua saa zingine hata kama unapiga no, yes. Unajua the problem with these politicians, kumbe watu ni mikora kabisa yote.
Jambazi.
Huyu kwanza ni jambazi mkubwa. Anashinda anasema BBI ni mbaya for the last 2 years, analeta ma conference hapo Nakuru kila siku.
Sasa rage mastop.
Sasa leo stop alao wanaenda kwa pale wanapewa opportunity ya ku present views, anaanza kusema yes. Sasa tunashindwa shwari. Kichwa ilikuwa hapo kwa mzee bana.
Haya, asante. Bwana siku njema. Pole bwana. Jambo.
Mambo.
Salama sana kaka, mambo vipi?
Nzuri sana.
Habari ya UK bwana Munga?
Uko salama kabisa.
Mbunga wako ni nani?
Mimi mbunga wangu ni mwingine hata kikangi huko tetu anaitwa bwana Sheria Wakili. Haongeangi amelala bunge kabisa.
Akona shida ya mdomo ama ni uamuzi alifanya ya kutoongea?
Sasa ni wakili na haongei, sasa utasema tena na wakili kazi yao wanalipwa kuongea.
Sasa kura yako iko wapi sasa?
Sasa mimi kura yangu ni ya no.
Kwa nini?
I want to take you back a few years ago in the 90s. You remember when Moi said, siasa mbaya, maisha mbaya.
Kabisa.
And also EKURU AUKOT has been preaching about the Kenyans taking back their Kenya, their country. And wakapigia hiyo kitu ya EKURU AUKOT nini mambo hivi ikatupwa nje. Lakini the reason we are suffering the way we are suffering is because we are not having an alternative. And I want to urge EKURU AUKOT and I want to tell EKURU AUKOT we are behind him.
Okay.
Whatever he needs on that website atuambie. Hata kama ni kuchangia hiyo kitu.
Mtachangia.
Tutachangia, tutatoa.
Safi.
Usiende chini, we are with you my friend.
Asante sana Munga.
Tunakusupport kabisa. Give us an alternative. That's what we are looking for.
I'm on it.
Hakuna kitu hapa. Kenya sasa ile imebaki bwana. Ni kitu kidogo sana to salve it, man. And our children will have nothing. Kama sisi hatuna, watoto wetu na watoto wetu watapata nini?
Kitaumana zaidi.
At least the time now Kenyans have to wake up and tell them, man, you know what, even if it's that parliament, get out of it and give some common sense.
Okay, asante sana Munga. Alisalimia watu wa Coventry. Haya, asante. I think it will only be fair we end the calls. Ndio tuingie kazi kwa upesi. Nimeona kuna jamaa ameitisha hapo link ya punguza mzigo www.punguzamizigo.org nimeweka pale www.punguzamizigo.com. Haya, acha nikupe nafasi uendelee na mawazo yako. Nimefunga masimu, poleni kidogo lakini nimepata mawazo.
I think as usual we start with the state of the nation.
If you have any.
Yeah, if you have any.
We still have a nation.
So I want to tell a short story. My wife told me a story yesterday. and how she's traumatized. So she tells me that she was just taking her usual walk, and then there's this gentleman who just walked over to her and just told her, listen, I'm sorry, I don't know you don't know me, but I'm just walking aimlessly. Wow. My wife just gave birth. I don't know what to give her to eat. Hata nikienda kwa mijengo, there's even discrimination kwa hizi mijengo. Wow. People, the supervisors, they have got their own people. So hata kupata kazi. And this guy looked dazed. It's like he didn't even know where he was. So, and I thought, actually from 2 a.m. I've not been able to sleep because now I was thinking about the suffering many Kenyans are going through in this country. This is a man who had the courage to confront a stranger and to tell a stranger, I actually don't have anything to give to my wife who was just given birth. So you can imagine many millions and millions of Kenyans who are not able to gather such courage and actually walk to a stranger and ask. But again, I'm not surprised because you can see a lot around the street lights by the roads. A lot of people are now begging for food. So I think just to start off our conversation, the state of the nation is really pathetic, and you can see that even as you drive, sometimes the way people cross the roads, is their minds are elsewhere, you know. And coming back to now the charade that is BBI. With that state of the mind of many Kenyans, actually millions and millions of Kenyans are depressed. Then you can see a leadership just playing ping pong with people's lives, like what we saw in the National Assembly, in the Senate. It's a shame. It's really a big shame, and I'm thinking, do we really have a country? And even assuming we have a country, do we have anybody out there apart from Kenyans who is providing any direction or strategic direction? You know, I think like we've been saying in this show many times, Kenyans, we are on our own. I think the sooner we realize that actually we do not have any leadership at all, or we don't have stewardship for this country, I think the sooner we wake up, we mobilize ourselves. At least for me, I decided I'm not going to entertain this nonsense of BBI. That's why Punguza Mizigo is back, and Kenyans are signing, because whatever happens with this Punguza BBI, because it's clear they are pushing it down the throats of many Kenyans. We will have to undo it. We will have to undo this damage. Because if you look at, for example, I have had somebody from another political camp say, well, we don't see anything in this BBI for us. So it's like, it's about us. It's about us, about my leadership. If I don't see my position there, this is not how you amend a constitution of a country. And Mawakili will confirm. And I keep on telling Bitok in your show that when you are making a law or passing a new constitution or any law or any policy, you must establish the common good. If the common good is not there, then it's not good for society. It cannot be for people. You cannot legislate for self. What we are seeing, what we saw in Parliament yesterday, is that members of Parliament are actually legislating for self. It's about them. And that is sad. Cumulatively, we don't have a state of the nation in this country. Ni sisi tuko tu peke yetu.
Tupambane na hali yetu.
Tupambane na hali yetu mpaka wakati ambapo tutaamuka.
Kuna majamaa pia nani alikula shoka juzi.
Sasa, you know, I don't like laughing at people, especially if they are reeling in some pain. But you know, I saw my friend Otiende Amolo now has been kicked out of the BBI team. For some reason, I don't sympathize with Otiende Amolo, because Otiende Amolo and I were in the committee of experts when we wrote this 2010 constitution. You know, we did a lot of work. We hardly slept. But then for him to have gone and danced on BBI, and I even remember him ridiculing me in his native county, Siaya. Even could not pronounce the word Punguza Mizigo. He called it EKURU AUKOT. I think he said it in Doluo. AUKOT AUKOT, referring to me as a bird. You know, the guinea fowl. You know, that thing of that guinea fowl. So the Madarao. But you see, when I saw what happened to him this week, I said to myself, wow, the hyenas have eaten one of their own. You know? And I like it to what happened to Tende Amolo, and I think what almost happened to Rengo even yesterday, to just kuku anaanza kukula faranga wake. You know, this
so you don't sympathize with
Tende. Ni msiba wa kujitakia bwana, mzigo wa kujitweka wa mwepo. And you know, if you remember, go back to 1975 with the murder of J.M. Perioki. You know, and I think it was John Keane who was contributing in parliament and said, you know, the hyenas have killed one of their own, have eaten one of their own. So hii siasa ni kukarangwa. Kama if you don't have your own mindset, independent mindset, especially kama unasema wewe ni wakili, sijui mmesoma, where is your mind? Where is your analytical mind? Yeah? So, for some reason I'm not sympathetic. Wacha watu wakarangane. Because wanatukaranga sisi wa Kenya pia. Yeah? Sasa pia wakikarangana, I think it's a change of
wakarangana na mafuta yao.
Yeah.
Hi. RHODA, good to see you. Good morning.
Good morning.
You doing well?
I'm doing very well. Asante sana kwa...
This is your first time on the tackle?
Yes. Kwa kunialika. And as usual, I'm not equally surprised na vile kumetendeka bunge. But I just, in my opinion, I see a replay of more or less the duration between 1963 all the way until I think about 82 thereabouts, where as much as we had a constitution and we had not kind of limited the powers of the executive, we find ourselves now more or less clawing back on the gains of the 2010 constitution and trying to now also have what we call an unlimited government that does not know its bounds, you know. Haijui
mipaka.
Yes, haijui mipaka. It does not know when to say this is my limit. And as far as I'm concerned, the executive, the legislature and the judiciary are arms of government that should work separately. There should be a proper balance of power. But from the looks of things, Parliament now has technically become part of the executive. It has become an
extension.
Yes, an extension of the executive.
Yes.
And
they're having a clandestine affair.
Precisely. And now
this is not even a clandestine. It's so a relationship in the open.
It's not even. It's
no
more,
longer clandestine.
No, it's even more like an abusive relationship, if you ask
Yes, it
me.
is.
Because I do not think, in my opinion, I think one of the in the 2010 constitution, one of the arms of government that was given, at least a certain amount of power that, if anything, to some extent superseded that of the executive was the legislature. And what amazes me sometimes is you listen to members of parliament saying that they are not in government. And the reason they say they are not in government is because they are not in the executive. Wanasema sisi serikali. And I hear even...
but you know, Akil, that's how it should be. They are not supposed to be government. That's why they are called the legislature.
But you see, they are arms of government.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
you understand.
Yes,
you don't
yes.
have to be sitting in the executive.
In the executive, yes.
You don't have to be sitting in cabinet. You don't have to be a PS. You don't have to be the Attorney General for you to consider yourself being part of the government. We want representation in government. And therefore, that is why we have the legislature. And that is where people get their representation through through parliament. Lakini sasa mkienda mbunge alafu mseme hatuko serikali, we are not in government. What does that mean for us? It means then we have no representation. And I hear people also complaining what happens to our children and our future children, but I mean and our grandchildren and so on. But I'm of the opinion now that imefika wakati sasa if the structures that we had set up, that is the checks and balances, the separation of power, so that we can observe the rule of law. Kama haiwezekani, then I think the only thing now we can do is now begin to educate our children so that we do not lose the gains that we had already kind of achieved.
But if the adults are not learning, do you think the children will learn?
Yes, in fact, let me point out, I consider myself a civic educator. I have a platform called We the People of Kenya, where we educate, not adults, but children.
Okay.
between the ages.
More others ni ngumu kabisa.
Hiyo tumeshindwa kabisa. We said the only way now we can pass some empowerment to the citizens is through now our young ones, because they are the leaders of tomorrow. And hopefully, I mean, and it doesn't take long. You can assume that a 15-year-old right now is not in a capacity to make any decisions. But I'll tell you, we have some very serious discussions with these children. And they ask questions that even my own member of parliament, my own my senator does not ask. And he cannot ask because now he's beholden to the executive. So, and unfortunately they that is their voice, but I am very optimistic itafika mahali that when they are of age, they will now, I think now saizo tutakuwa tumezeeka kabisa, hapo ndio sasa ndio tutasaidika, not unless now EKURU comes and steps in.
So mnangoja muzeeke kwanza. Mungu ni mwema.
Hatutazeeka, tunafundishana tukizeeka in the hope that
wakili mimi nataka mimi na wewe to form the next government. In fact, Bitoko naona nimepata running.
Naona running. Kwenda wewe.
Wenda ikawa.
Kwanza rangi ni mzuri ya posta. Arnold Maliba. Sasa ile kitu yako tulikuwa tumeanza kukuombea, sasa nimeona tumeteremsha kura by 15%. Utajiokoa ama kitakwaje? Anyway,
hii serikali ya kina Orengo na Raila na Uhuru imehakikisha kuwa kama unatoka Mombasa Road you might not really have peace. So hata ukiamka mapema sometimes you really are not in a place where you can control where you're coming from. Anyway, that said, nataka kuanza, when we're talking about the state of the nation, I would like to start with a quote that we really love to bandy around and throw around. A guy called Franz Fanon said this, that each generation must, out of relative obscurity, discover its mission, fulfill it, or betray it. Yesterday when I saw James Agri-Orengo come out strongly, speak sense, and end up voting yes, I saw a representative of a generation that had, of course, out of a lot of difficulties, come out and identified their mission. They worked well, but by voting yes, he did betray it. These are people who know what is wrong. And it's actually exemplified in one of the KANU chicks.
So Rengo actually voted yes.
Let's just start with some KANU chick called Moses Wetangula. Moses will actually, and most times he stands up on the floor of the house, speaks so well. He's a very good legal brain. Even his English is above. He speaks well. It's only that the Bukusu
betrays him.
Weight, our roots are quite heavy. We would actually betray him. But if you actually look at the technical bit of it, he comes off well. So he can actually come out, speak a lot of sense. Eventually, he votes yes. So
after all the English.
So I have seen a generation of people who know what is good and what is wrong. And their conscience tells them that this is wrong and this is correct. But when it comes to decision making, they vote for other things other than the truth, facts, data, and even conscience. So we are beginning from a place where, as a nation, another generation must rise up, either also identify and fulfill a mission of their own, or the children she is actually educating will actually be forced to then pick up from where we have left. What we only are doing is that we are burdening them, not just by extra, Uhuru has gone, of course, on a borrowing spree, not just on that end also, but the structures and the foundations that define us as a nation, we actually are also leaving behind a lot of ruins for them to actually try and build up. So we are talking about the state of the nation. The state of the nation, of course, is in turmoil. The nation is in turmoil. As usual, we waited until the Indian variant landed here.
It's here with us.
People landed at JKIA, traveled all the way to Kisumu. Yet when government was reporting, they came out and said that it was identified as soon as they landed. Then we started questioning. As soon as they landed, but they are in Kisumu, we are already locking up some areas and going after their workmates and everyone. How is that as soon as they landed? And by the time you leave Nairobi, you're going all the way to Kisumu. God knows how many people you have actually interacted with. And the people you have interacted with have actually gone out there.
How many services you have touched,
As in, we did the same thing last year. We have actually repeated the same. We just don't learn. I don't know whether it's structurally we are flawed or we have got people who do not know what they are doing in places of governance. So we have got that, of course, in place. The economy is in doldrums. He's just given an example where people actually, and all of us are meeting people continuously. When a man approaches you, we are Africans and we are still deeply, there's that African pride, especially in a man, where you're not going to walk on to somebody and just speak your problems.
Okay.
Even your friends, sometimes people realize you have got a problem when it's too late. Yeah. So when people actually have gotten to a level where they're actually reaching out to strangers, it's not, of course, a laughing matter. It's not a joke. But that is the state of the economy.
Yes.
You saw the other day somebody sharing a joke that there was a time in this country when the state of the economy was so strong that Christians would say no to jobs advertised by EBL and cigarette manufacturing companies. Of course, it was a joke, but you will see the sense where it's coming in, that today we can actually take anything, and so long as we have been dehumanized. And once you take away a person, the pride of a person, that sense of exceptionalism, at least everybody has got a little bit of a prejudice, everybody has got some self-entitlement. As a human being, it doesn't matter. Even a child, there are things somebody will tell you I can't take. Hata wewe tu bitoko kuna ile kitu sana mimi siwezi kula. But then when we have dehumanized you get to a level where you eat everything. They've turned us into scavengers as a people. They've turned us into hyenas. We are everywhere looking for bones and everything else. I know that is a recipe for a problem. And a bigger problem. But because these guys don't see, they are forcing on us BBI. You saw yesterday how BBI turns out. The very things Orengo is rising today, the very things Tiende is actually speaking about, we have spoken about these things for the last 16, 17, 18 months. For the last 2 years, we have raised these issues. But they couldn't listen to that. I have seen guys, of course, bashing Ngunjiri, Kimani Ngunjiri. I'd like you guys, of course, to remember the words of Justice Oko, when he was asked by JSC if he had a solution to tribalism and stuff. He was very bold. I've never seen a bold man hitting so hard but very, very humble. Telling us that, I don't have a solution to that, but the truth is that we are very tribal. Even this commission here in this particular setting, we are very tribal. And it's so funny that none of those guys challenged him. You know how bad that is.
Because he spoke truth to power.
So they agreed with them.
He spoke truth to power, and power was so helpless it could not respond.
So
yesterday,
it's like being given a knockdown with an uppercut. So when you're on the floor, what can you say?
So you see, yesterday something happened that so many of us didn't follow. Sometimes because I'm into public policy a lot, I love to listen to, if somebody who's handling a very serious project is speaking anywhere, then I look for somebody to interpret, and then I try to listen just to follow up. So yesterday, Honorable Waweru was speaking on Inoro FM. He's actually the co-chair of BBI, him and Junet. And while he spoke on Inoro, he was on a mission which I categorized as a base riling. He was riling the base. And he said two things that really got me a little bit disturbed, and I shared them and asked people. Number one, he said that Mount Kenya has got 35% of the population in this country, but they only have 21% of representation in parliament. Now, that is a misinformation in the first place, in that 10.7 million people out of an estimated 52 million people is about 17% of the population. What he was right about was the 21% representation in parliament. Because a quarter
which is still high.
A quarter of the constituencies in Mount Kenya are actually protected constituencies. In Nyeri, we have got about 2-3 constituencies. I think they usually were 4 that were protected. If you go to Nyandaro, we still have got protected constituencies. You go to Murang'a, we've got protected constituencies. But they will still want to push. And that is the bone of contention that you see kina Otienda Amolo, kina Orengo, Kina Uparanya and the others standing up and asking questions that no one wants to speak about. Now we are at a point where they can't stop, because when Orengo
But why did they vote yes?
That's why I say that as a generation, they know the truth. I don't know what Paul used to call those people, but these guys know the truth.
Ye foolish Galatians.
They know the problem, but somehow they are controlled by other factors and they make decisions. You know what Orengo was doing yesterday is that he was handing over. When he says that when my time comes, I will go. Of course, the MDG, is it Mind Lord Development? What that party by Ochieng, what is its name?
Yes, MDG.
You know what MDG actually did is that it already brought out a notion that you can actually oppose Raila and win an election in Nyanza. And of course, for people who understand Luo politics very well, there was only one thing that was going to bring Raila down. It can only come from Siaya. Because Siaya is their, I want to call it an old ancient shrine. There's no Luo person who is in this country that was never in Siaya. Everybody else, wherever they came from, they first of all
came from Siaya,
congregated in Siaya and dispersed from that particular end. Yeah. So from whatever happened, if Raila ever goes down politically, he will actually have problems coming or originating from Siaya. Migori can provide the shock troops that fight the wars, especially if the Luo nation is fighting. Kisumu can actually bring in the special forces that will fight everything else. But at the commanding level, the software that fights that war a lot of times has to come from Siaya. And I think whatever is coming from whatever the bone of contentions they have, the questions Otiende is asking are serious, but we are at a place where now they can't walk back. Orengo said that government eats its own people when he was speaking to Murkomen. And then ODM, of course, declared itself government. They joined government. So government is actually eating, true to his words, government is eating its own.
But what Maliba,
Yeah.
Let's move this conversation forward. Bitop.
Yes.
You know, every time I hear Has Kenyans lament about this pathetic leadership in this country, I'm reminded of the words of Albert Einstein when he tried to define insanity. It's doing the same thing all the time and expecting different results. So one of the things that we need to confirm that as Kenyans, we are insane.
We are mad people.
We are mad people. Now, because
we are a big madare.
Kabisa. So we are sick. So what do we need to do?
I disagree.
We need to seek treatment. Yeah, and part of seeking that treatment is for me, and we've said again in this show many times.
Yes.
We also now need to run away from discussing this country from a few personalities, because that is what is now emerging around this BBI. Oh, Uhuru, oh, Raila, Ruto, Suji Nani. No, the rest of us are not a decoration in this country. We exist, yeah, and we have ideas. As a matter of fact, and not even to brag, a lot of us out here are probably even more educated than these fellows, more experienced even in terms of work. So we can actually offer this country solutions. And one of those solutions is we now need to honestly gang up together and project ourselves as the alternative to this country. You see, and Arnold is right. Some regions, some tribes can only be defined in the context of an individual.
Yes.
And now that individual has also given birth to some either children or surrogates who also speak like that. Let's break away from that. And let's say we can also do something different. And that's why I've been encouraging in this show. BBI will be forced on us. It's clear what they are doing. And like what RHODA said earlier, you see, to also keep on entertaining the mediocrity and ignorance of our own leaders who say I'm not in government when the constitution says you are an arm of government. This is stupidity. It's idiocy actually. How can somebody who's supposed to be legislating as another arm of government say I am not in government? Yes, of course you're not in the executive, but you're in government.
But in government, in extension. Yes.
In extension. So even as we point out, we call out this Ujinga, by is now becoming almost our middle name in this country. I think honestly, let's give Kenyans alternative, and that's why for me, I have put on the table Punguza Mizigo again, because whatever these guys are going to do to damage this country, the generations to come, and that of our children and their children, we must somehow undo it, because any adult of reasonable mind should be able to have some level of responsibility and respectability in themselves by saying, I cannot allow this country to go the road it's going, because really, first of all, will we have a country? Secondly, because I'm asking myself, I am not opposed, for example, to expansion of road infrastructure. Yeah. Can you see the way they are speedily doing the expressway? Yeah. At a time when, like we said, the state of the nation is that we have got very mad people walking, aimlessly, looking for food. Other countries are passing what they call COVID rescue package to either save small businesses, to ensure that people still go on, even give people some handouts. Yes. Let me ask you, how difficult is it today for this government to honestly say, we're even going to have a special budget today. We buy maize and maharagwe and we distribute to Kenyans free, because the truth for the matter is people are starving. People do not have food. If today life is actually difficult for us financially, us who are working and we can wake up one day, either chase a rental or, chase a debt. Yeah. Imagine the guy who is jobless. Yeah. Imagine the person in the village, the person in the informal settlement called the slums. Yeah. Honestly, I mean, this is why for me, when I started this show by that story from my wife, of course, we all support like villagers and relatives out there. But imagine now how hard it is for us, to pay bills, school fees. Yeah. I mean, just fuel your car. Basic, I'm talking about basic. Rent. Today, there is no landlord. I can tell you, as a landlord. Yeah. I reached a stage where even if I chase my tenant because they are unable to pay, who will take up that tenancy? Who will move in? So the situation is pathetic. But you see, we are discussing this problem and we know it. And yet we are discussing it in the context of... so I'm challenging us. We are discussing our problems as if we don't know them. And then we are hoping these same insane people
who are the cause of the problems.
Yeah, who've been because of the problem will give us the solution. So all I'm saying is this: we are the solutions to our problem now. Because what do we do? Okay. Yeah, we must break away.
I think then he's correcting himself. So it's not the entire nation that is insane and is in need of going to Mathare. It is. It is the leadership.
We actually already, the country itself is a big Mathare. We're all patient. Others are recovering, others are deep.
Once we try to tell ourselves apart from the leadership, we're also failing in our responsibility. I know he doesn't like hearing this, but I can tell you that democracy is like milk. The best substance, and him being a pastoralist will know that the best substance in milk, which is cream, normally comes on top. So normally, these leaders here are a representative sample of who we are. We can always complain, and somehow when we go to the ballot, the people we come in parliament, there's an attrition of 67%. Every time we go to elections. Yet they come in and do the same thing. Somehow it's our representative sample, but it is for us to decide. It's not like we are tied up.
But you see, Maliba, whereas you are right, and I don't think I fault you, and I've also said it many times, the failures in our leadership today is actually a reflection of who we are. Because these people don't come from planet Mars. Yeah. We are the ones who elect them. They're our brothers, our uncles, our wives, our husbands, whatever the case may be. So it is us. But the reason I'm saying let's now go into the solution mode. When somebody is causing you pain or suffering, or is about to beat you down to the ground, wouldn't you defend yourself? That's the solution I'm saying. Yes, it is true we gave them these reins of power.
But let's rise and defend us.
But what do we do now? We cannot keep on lamenting. Like you say, every 5 years we are electing, we change 6-7%, but they come and do the same thing. And that's why for us, when we were writing the Constitution of Kenya, we introduced an article called Recall Clause, Article 104. That kama mjumbe wako anazembea uko kazini, you actually begin a process of censure by collecting signatures to remove that person. Why aren't Kenyans doing that?
How easy is it? Because the other thing then you have to look at, since in the 10 years for which we have had the new constitution, we have not been able to recall even one.
Yes.
That means they are, for lack of a better word, I think there were certain loopholes that made it impossible to make use of that clause. And then secondly, who are we relying on to step in and actually begin the process of recalling even a single...
RHODA, let me give you an example.
Yes.
I'll give you an example,
Yeah.
RHODA. You see, if we keep on waiting and saying until that time when we are able to organize ourselves to do this,
Yeah.
if I listened to criticism and how people were dismissive of EKURU AUKOT from 2017, as a presidential candidate, if I listen to people and say, people telling me, EKURU bana, wewe kwanza ni mturukana, mko na kura ngapi?
But you are listening then to the wrong people.
I know, but listen, but I want to tell you,
Yes.
this thing is doable.
It is.
Yeah,
It's
doable. Recalling, started the process. As guys were so discouraged, I remember Aden Duale, for example, telling me, you are a nomad. Ukipata hata 20,000 votes kwa hii punguza mzigo yako kama I give you certain amount of money. They laughed at us. Akina Raila
and they said to give you money. Tafadhali Duale, tunataka pesa, tuko na shida mahali kidogo.
But RHODA, if we are accepted to be discouraged, as a newcomer into politics, less known political party, we could not have gathered 1.2 million signatures in support of Punguza Mizigo, and we could not have been able to cause a national conversation in all the 47 county assemblies. So this thing, guys, we can do it. We can do it because, after all, let me tell you, these fellows who are now causing us pain, RHODA, could be big in their names, in their family names, or even in their money, in their political pedigree, because they have been there for a long time. But trust me, and I will say this without flinching, they are very small in terms of ideas.
Small, minute.
I just have one. I think for me, the main issue, if we are looking for solutions, I think we have been so focused, and that's why I think corruption and tribalism has been an issue. I think we have been so focused on our self-interests, such that it takes actually what we call a paradigm shift for us now to focus less on our self-interest, because I think that's where our protection with regards to our Bill of Rights comes in, where we need protection with regards to our life, our liberty, and equally our property. But then that motivation to now focus on self needs to move to what we call the common good, such that we tell our politicians that you could be doing very well as an individual, but for as long as not even the bottom, not half of the country, but a greater half of the country is struggling. We, like he said, we have literally lost our dignity. If you cannot work, that is a loss of your own dignity. If you cannot put food on the table, you cannot keep a roof over your head, you are losing your dignity, and you are now being forced to beg when you were not in that position before. And you are seeing it happen. I mean, it's not happening in small bits. It's actually happening there are things that happen in slow motion, but this one is happening like in fast forward. It's almost like a fast forward. You're just seeing these things happen very quickly. So for me, I think the best way to encourage or to change the mindset of Kenyans is to make them understand that we need this need for self-interest. And that is why we vote on tribal lines, because then you're looking at your tribal leader. When he's in and you start now canvassing for tenders, you are now also looking at what can I do for myself and not what can I do for Kenyans.
Okay. You know, before Maliba comes, me, I'd like to give you a very unpopular example.
We need to roll the conversation.
And I hope I'm allowed to give a simple example. On a very light note, you see, ukabila ni ujinga, to be honest. Hakuna mtu anakula ukabila. And this is what we need to tell Kenyans.
Politicians
point blank. Ngoja. We need to tell Kenyans ukabila ni ujinga. In fact, hawa wanasiasa hawa, ukiangalia mipango yao ya kando, chances are very high militant ni kutoka kabila ingine. Ukweli ama si kweli wa Kenya? Kwa vile tu kweli. Mbona ikifika kwa mambo ya mipango ya kando na hizo vitu vingine chini ya maji, watu
Halo kabila.
And they don't kill them.
Anyway, Maliba,
but
is it as another reality?
One of those things I just wanted to reinforce the issue on why we need to talk about where we are. I'm going to go back, give a very funny example that you already know, and then loop it into the hustler narrative. Number one, in 1973, there was a bank robbery in Sweden. the bank robbery went bad. So, of course, the guys wanted to run away and they were not in a position to actually get off. So they hijacked six of the workers of the bank, so that then you can actually negotiate how you get outside of that conundrum you are in. In the 6 days that they actually ended up with these employees, a very funny incongruous relationship developed. So when the police were trying to save the employees sided with the people who had hijacked them. It gave birth to something we call the Stockholm Syndrome. The Stockholm Syndrome is a place where human beings sometimes side with their captors and their oppressors. We have seen it in the Middle East, we have seen it in Latin America, where people then tell you, we know this guy sells drugs, we know this person has been killing everybody else, but you know, he has given us water, he has done this, he has decapitated people, yes, but it's okay, he's a good person. So as a people, we Kenyans are actually we actually are held in that grip. We are suffering from Stockholm Syndrome. These politicians are our captors. These guys are our oppressors, but we still are siding with them. Why I wanted to loop in the hustler narrative is that the reason why it actually has been opposed, I might not ideologically agree to it, but I have seen the mechanics that inform the vehement opposition to it. And number one is that people started telling everybody, mimi ni hustler kama wewe, mimi ni kama ka. So people start looking at each other and think, so I am also poor like him. I'm also poor. So there was like
so actually 10 poor people
so we are all poor. So there was a fellowship of people who are realizing that okay, even with my I'm actually doing bad. So with that realization, then you know, like when you're doing the basic way of defining empowerment has always been that you mobilize people on parade, you are mobilizing people, you are bringing them together, you educate them, and then you link them. So there is the bit of mobilizing them. But now what we are doing now is actually to educate people. There are two ways of educating people, of education. All of us know that either you are acquiring old knowledge or by way of research, you are producing new knowledge. So if we are not we are trying to tell these people about new knowledge before they do their basic degree, which one time too many is old knowledge. So diagnostics is not a bad thing. Hitler's role model, Henry Ford, said that if you can actually identify your problem, you actually have solved your problem halfway. The problem is that as a nation, even as a people, we don't know our problem very well. Because we side with these people.
Maliba, we know our problem in this country is bad leadership, bad government. In fact, there is no time, even in the history, my readings of governance or whatever, there is no time a country can actually feed its people, unless maybe on times of emergency, for example. That's the only time. But what a government must do, a responsive government must do, is to facilitate an enabling environment for people to be able to make their living. Now, one of our solutions as a country is not to talk about our problems, because one of our problems that we have identified is the leadership and also ourselves at the same time, because we are the ones who create that problem we call leadership. So the problem creates another problem. So my solution, my suggested solution is this. Now that we know one of our problems is actually these political leaders, I want us as Kenyans to remove them from power. Change them. And then one of the things that we must do is not just removing them by way of either voting them or not. Also offer yourself. Because one of the things I'm telling you, I'll give an example, and I've told you this before many times. People like us here are actually part of the problem. Because we are knowledgeable, we know, but what will we do? We'll probably go somewhere in an afternoon and nyama choma and drinking some cognac and wine, and all we do is just lament, these guys are bad, and we are not offering ourselves. So one of the solutions for me is this. We admit we are part of the problem, but we must also be the solution, and now let's offer ourselves. Because you see, Maliba, the more we stay away from government
taking action
and leadership, the more actually we are enabling the kind of
the oppression that we receive. Anyway,
and for them, they see it as their shamba.
On a light note, I just want to remind you.
The song,
just a moment. I just want to remind you, of course, on a light note. You said that there are so many mad people around here, people who don't know themselves and they're walking around. if you follow social media, there's this guy who said that he once lived in Nairobi and he has seen a lot of problems. And then he finishes by saying, if Kanairo...
You need to read that story. Let me try and look for it.
The guy says that he once lived in Nairobi and the things he went through in this city were so bad. It speaks about a girlfriend ule mwenye sijui walinyang'anywa pesa sijui akafanywa aje, and then nywele yake ikafungwa kwa gari in just one day, and then he finalizes his rant by saying that this Nairobi normal people are less than 10. So even as you think that all of us know really what our problem is, we probably do not know so well. So it's important that self-awakening moment is that we really need. That's why even the Bible says that you hear. Faith comes by hearing, and hearing the word of God. So we need to remind people repeatedly that it is bad, it is not well, things are, and if you can do something about it. So unless we anchor our people in problems, the place of diagnostics cannot be ignored in strategy. So we must continuously say that even as we speak hope. Otherwise, I can tell you, the current generation has left us at sea. And we are here going in circles, we are still looking at them for solution. And by the way, what they have done, what Parliament did yesterday, is that we are not able to do anything. We have got very powerful people who will beat us up. If you people want, defeat it. Now, it is upon the people who are saying they are angry, not to listen to those people who actually are coming to tell you to vote for BBI under pressure with a gun on their head, by the way. For a number of members of Parliament, I was on a TV show the other day, and I gave Jubilee 30 to 25% their performance. And he told me, that is so harsh. Lakini unajua mimi kama mbunge siwezi sema because nikisema tu tutatoka hapo kwa askari watakuja hapa nje. So when those members of Parliament come to you to tell you to vote for BBI, they are not doing it because they believe in it. You can see some of them are speaking it. It is because they have got a gun on their head. It is up to you as a person to realize that things are bad and you have no other layer of security between you and anarchy. It is yourself. They actually have surrendered the final call for the country's salvation to you as a person. Reject it.
Okay. All right. I have your story, and it's from a guy who comes from where my good friend EKURU comes from. It's called Aldongan Bor. And he says, many people do not know I lived in Nairobi before I relocated back to Kabarnet. It was not my wish. Uko ni shamba kubwa la wazimu. One morning nilikuwa naenda natafuta ona Ngonjiri Kimani ananipigia ile autoburi on call atuambia jana kuliendaje ile ya meja jana kuliendaje. Haya, okay, so anasema it was not my wish. Uko ni shamba kubwa la wazimu. One morning nilikuwa naenda natafuta job, kufika hapo Outer Ring right side kama kunaenda Donholm, lori ya garbage collection imekuja, chokora wakiwa juu wanilinga na kiugali kubwa wanilinga na kiugali kubwa kwa kichwa, nika lose control. Niliona lori ndio ila ishaenda. I was reset back to factory settings, nikarudi kwa nyumba. Suti ya wenyewe nikarudisha. Siku ingine nimepigwa kofi hapo Kencom. Hiyo kofi kwa mambo bila sababu, na jamaa amevaa suti on point. I have suffered. My ex-girlfriend aliwahi dungwa na pen kwa and I will not say the beans hapo stage ya koja, na akafungwa braids kwa chuma ya kiti ya matatu. Kushuka ikawa nikizaazaa on the same day. I left Nairobi only to come back as a visitor. Na ingia nikitokanga. Hiyo Kanaira watu normal hawafiki 10. Haya. Nataka nipigie mheshimiwa Kimani Ngunjiri. Naona ametafuta kwa simu.
Masaibu ya Wakenya.
Ndio masaibu ya Wakenya. Wanasema jamaa anafunga anapiga na ugali. Atafuta Kimani Ngunjiri. Tuende connect so we can have him on call. Tusikie tuambie kule jana kuliendaje. Ana ametafuta kidogo tusikie anasemaje. Mambo ni ngumu bwana.
I think Kenya should write one big novel. Be 50 million chapters. Kila Kenya andika chapter yake.
Unaandika Kenya anajua.
Yes.
Yako hapa inside simu hapo. Jaribu kumtafuta hapo.
But why are we not able to mobilize to get out there? I can see like guys in Myanmar, Hong Kong, those other countries. People are out expressing their anger. Why are we not able to?
Because we have put our salvation in these very people who already have been captured.
No, I think Kenyans are traumatized lots. Me, that's what I would conclude as to why we don't come
RHODA,
why we don't come out and make noise as you're putting it. We don't rebel or have great revolutions.
Who you're trying to reach is currently busy.
One is because our history, our colonization, and then how we were dealt with during that time when we were trying to revolt and protest against the British colonial. We learned our lessons, and unfortunately I have the opinion that once a certain pace has been set, that is what we usually follow. Because I see the French take a different route. If you are to add fuel in the French Republic, people will hit the streets. If you are to import wine from foreign countries, the French go onto the street and ban and pour the wine on the streets. But that's because that is how they had been cultured from the very beginning. And I don't think Kenyans have been cultured that way. We have not been cultured to be a very few, but a great majority we are not cultured.
Mheshimiwa jambo.
Mzuri sana.
Uko salama?
Kabisa.
Hapa ni makutafuta by public demand.
Yes.
Hapa ni Tarkwel. Hapa ni Tarkwel.
Tarkwel.
Jambo.
Una Tarkwel watu.
Nataka watu lakini watu wanataka kukutakwel leo.
Mimi nataka kuwa tackled.
Wanauliza jana kuliandaje mheshimiwa?
Jana kulienda namna hiyo.
Kwani
hiyo ni namna hiyo tu.
Sasa kuliandaje? Sasa miaka 2 umetuambia bana hii kitu ni gushi, alafu kidogo unasema iko chonjo.
No, you see, in our side tumekuja na policy ya kusema from bottom to top.
Okay.
From bottom to top imeanza juzi na tumeisukuma kabisa. What is the difference na hii? Kwa sababu inapeleka pesa mashinani from MCA. Kwenda juu inaongeza CDF. Nakuru County tunapata viti 5.
Constituencies.
You can imagine Naivasha constituency iko na voters 200,000. Mjumbe ni mmoja. One game.
Lakini mheshimiwa
kuna constituency za Garissa na sehemu zingine ambaye ziko na watu less than 40,000 30.
Okay.
Na wanapata 137 million. So that means Naivasha would have 4 MPs. Times 137 million. How much are they losing Naivasha? They're losing a lot of money. So this issue should not put it on the party's line or we have to put it in the way we are seeing our people are going to benefit. So that is not a big problem.
Okay.
And people think that I'm now not supporting the DP 2022. My friend, I'm the chief campaigner. Yeah, DP 2022. Have you ever had the DP saying no?
Sijasikia.
Who have ever had him saying no?
Lakini mheshimiwa nikuulize.
Yes.
BBI imekuwa na sisi kwa miaka 2 sasa.
Yes.
Na muda wote umekuwa ukisema ya kwamba ni document mbaya na isaidii watu na ijali Wanjiku. Ni nini ligeuka jana?
Wacha nikuulize my friend.
Yes.
Wakati tulikuwa nawe kwa ile media nyingine ulikuwa.
Yes.
You are different. When we are with this media yako hii ulikuja sasa na you are different person.
Sasa useme pole pole.
Okay.
Kwa nini nitako hivyo?
Sasa nikuulize.
Sasa umeokoka.
Sasa wewe umetaka mimi na mimi nitakutaka ulikuwa kusema. My brother is only a fool who cannot change.
Okay.
His mind. When you calculate and see seriously now, we are so busy.
Yes.
But when you come to calculate issues, ya kuangalia ukweli, what is the fact of this thing? You'll be able to see. We should not fight this with the lines of politics. Yeah? When I calculated in Kaona, no, this is the same thing my boss DP is saying. From bottom to top. To top. Lakini the problem us, mimi, wewe, media na watu wengine. When something comes, we brand that thing na imekuwa ni shida kwa sababu ilikuwa ikiuzwa ni Raila na Uhuru. Ni Raila na Uhuru, tunaacha Wanjiko nje. Lakini when you see it, unaiona unaangalia Wanjiko wako happy on that line. Ukiona Wanjiko is benefiting, my friend, sisi tunaenda na Wanjiko pale atasaidika.
So kabla
after that we shall go politics 2022.
Kabla sijapea nafasi panelists niko na hapa, niko na daktari EKURU AUKOT hapa, na niko pia na jamaa anaitwa ARNOLD MALIBA, na niko pia na madama anaitwa RHODA KIBUNJA. So kabla sijapea nafasi wa kuuliza swali, nataka nikuuliza mheshimiwa, unahisi ya kwamba you represented the people of Bahati constituency in your vote in parliament?
My friend, nobody does for me the campaign of Bahati constituency. I do it alone.
Okay.
And let me tell you, not even who did for me a campaign, not even the DP, I did it myself.
Okay.
Let me tell you, when people have been chased, Naivasha mjumbe akafukuzwa, Girigiri akafukuzwa, Subuki akafukuzwa, Njoro akafukuzwa, Moro akafukuzwa, Kirisoi akafukuzwa, mimi nikula niliongezewa from 50,000 to 60,550. I do my own politics with my people.
Okay.
Don't forget, I'm reading in the CDF. Yeah. I'm number 1 in Nakuru County. Don't forget Uwezo in the country. I'm number 3. Don't forget education. I'm number 1.
Yeah.
So I do my own things, my friend. And ukitaka kuwa independent, hata tackle watu kuwa peke yako with your mind.
Sasa hata nipe nafasi EKURU kwa kuuliza swali. EKURU.
Mweshi ujambo?
Ni jambo sana my brother.
Naona ulinitupa sawa tu.
No, sija kutupa my brother. You know we had you bought me a dinner and we sat down na ukaniambia policy yako na nikakubaliana na wewe. And this country, let me tell you, when you shall have leaders kama wewe. Isipokuwa ile kitu na hivi mchuzi is a problem.
Mchuzi wa pweza ama mchuzi wa kuku? Lakini mheshimiwa,
na mchuzi ni mchuzi but the mind you have,
yes,
in your brain, I respect you so much.
Thanks Mwesh, but now let's talk serious issues.
Yes.
What you voted for yesterday,
yes,
is to expand government, and expansion of government comes with cost. Me, I have 2 questions for you.
Yes.
As a sitting parliamentarian,
yes,
today you are aware that this government of Jubilee, which you supported, has put us into a huge national debt of about 7.something trillion Kenya shillings.
Yes.
There is no clear strategy on how we can even begin to repay this money or even manage this debt going forward. But now you are supporting an expansion of an executive, expansion of government by bringing in more members of parliament, which will cost Kenyans. And I agree with you with the principle of that we must take pesa mashinani. So, Mwesh, you need to explain yourself as a representative of the people of Bahati and of course Kenya in general. How do you think we are able to manage this expanded government that you supported yesterday, even with the current national debt of about 7 trillion? Secondly, Mheshimiwa,
yes,
this government of Jubilee, which is now nearly doing its 10 years, has not been able to even send to our 47 counties the 15%, at least 15% that the Katiba is saying.
Yes.
And you know that, Mwesh. And money is not coming timely. Why now do you trust them with this lie? I mean, I call it a lie, this is my word, that 35% will now go to the county. What magic will happen for them now to send to the counties the 35% when they have not been able even to send 15%? And lastly, Mheshimiwa, you know your own parliament where you sit is gobbling about 37.5 billion Kenya shillings at the expense of Kenyan taxpayer. Huyo Wanjiko ambao wewe unasema unamtetea kutoka Bahati, kutoka Nakuru, kutoka huko 37.5 billion, na nyinyi tu ni 416 members of parliament Kenyans. I see it as very ridiculous, Mwesh. Let's use the example of Nairobi. We have about how many? 6 million people or 5 million, give and take. Lakini nyinyi katika bunge mumetupatia tu Nairobi, mmesema about 12 billion is what we need in Nairobi kufanya maendeleo kama ni maji, ni usalama na nini. Lakini nyinyi watu 416 mnachukua nyumbani 37.5 billion Kenya shilling. Don't you think, Mheshimiwa, mnatuongezea mizigo badala ya kutupunguzia mizigo when you voted for this BBI?
Thank you. Let me answer you. One thing, you are the one who drove when you deliver Constitution 2010.
That's true.
And you said something very important. And we all agreed that with the public that kila kitu yote sio sawa. There are some things which we have not finished. Na tutakuja kuziangalia. So we left about 20% ambayo hatukuwa tumemaliza. Second, let me come to why nimekuja kwa kufikiria hiyo.
Okay.
Last week tulikuwa na D, the expert of economy in Masai. And D alihubiria sisi na akatuonesha sisi structure, and I became the person in this way. He showed us how we can make this economy even the way it is. Na tukaona the problem, it is the person who is leading. Kama he doesn't believe on the things which have been put by experts.
Yeah.
One of example, let me give you. Kengen Naivasha.
Yes.
Inauza stima 4 shillings. Lakini inauzia middle people, conmen hapa katikati brokers. Wanauzia power 24 shillings. 24 shilling power ikiongeza pesa yake ya kuweza kumanage. Stima inakuwa shida kwa watu. So we can create an issue tukiondoa hii mabrokers hapa katikati in many things. Then we shall be able to collect more money. Let's go to my place Bahati GDC. GDC tumeshimba mashimo ya kutoa moto na pesa ya raia. Hii mashimo haitoi moto mpaka saa hii. Why? People are fighting ni nani ataweka head. Ile itakuwa yeye akinua moto kutoka kwa GDC alafu auzie power. My friend, and I know because you are a very straightforward person. We have so many things we can sort out, and this economy can come up. Let me put you one thing he put us through. Alitufundisha mambo ya miwa. Akatuambia miwa hata tukiweka how many billions. Sukari change when he sees the right. I'm not saying that it's heavy, but I'm saying we can change and removing the brokers. Hii nchi imemalizwa na brokers. Everywhere is brokers. Na ile pesa inaibiwa ukuru kodi wanasimamaga na sisi kabisa. Ile pesa inaibiwa leo. Wacha nikupe mfano. Hii pesa iliibiwa hii ya COVID. The president said 21 days.
Yeah.
Na akaambia watu ya CID na watu ya anti-corruption waangalie hiyo mambo. My friend, up to today as we are talking, those people have never responded.
Okay.
Bunga tunapigana naye na inatuoneshana wizi ya kina Munade, wizi ya aibu. But you know, as the law, we cannot prosecute. We have to take back recommendation ya other ministry inatakiwa ishike hii watu. Watashikwa? No. The money we are losing on the corruption, my friend, it can bring this economy also to somewhere.
Okay. Sasa nikuulize mheshimiwa, kabla sijapea RHODA. So percentage gapi ni nzuri kwa BBI? How many percent?
30%?
How many percent is good in BBI?
Well, percent we are suka crazy, lakini kwa mimi ninaona maybe about 70%.
Ni mzuri.
Itaweza kuwa mzuri.
Na 30% utafanyia nini? Ama utatengeneza mbele?
Nitatako.
Haya. Hata depend RHODA kuuliza swali pia. RHODA.
Mheshimiwa Gunziri, habari ya leo?
Mzuri sana RHODA.
Sasa niko na swali. Sasa unasema mlikaa chini na ndi The Economist to see how you can be able now to I guess generate more revenue for this country. Ndio pia mpunguzie Wanjiko mzigo ya kulipa hizi all these positions you're creating at the executive and at the legislature.
Yes.
But the question then I will ask is, you have been in government since 2013. Why weren't you already effecting these changes? Because now what you seem to be saying is towards the end of your term in government is when now you want to tell us you have all these economic wonders that you want to implement in this country so that you can be able to accommodate the huge budget you're going to create with the new amendments in the constitution. A good example is kuna shida ya KEMSA already. You cannot even begin to account for who the COVID billionaires are. Now, KEMSA ni ya juzi. But before KEMSA, I mean, I think there's even come a time now we always put a collage of all the headlines since 2013 of all the corruption issues. And all these corruption issues where you can call them brokers, you can call them cartels, you can call them whatever. But, if it works like a duck and quacks like one, it is still a duck, no matter what name you call it. So what you're trying to say is towards the end of your term is when you have great economic ideas on how to change this economy so that now you can lessen the burden for Anjiko, which you want to increase first, and then think about how to increase revenue with regards to now the electricity generation, mambo ya GDC. I mean, how is that? How are we supposed to buy that?
Let me tell you this, Mami, and I see maybe some points you are not getting what I said. I said it depends with somebody who is leading. And don't tell me I'm in the government. I'm a member of parliament myself. And if you go in my track record, I've been making noise throughout and pushing those issues of corruption and all those things you are saying. I've been doing it throughout. I've not just started. I've been saying these things every day. And let me ask you also, because you are a lady. When you are getting married, that is different after you get the children. When you are married, they are two different. It is a journey. Somebody goes. It is a journey. It's a journey. It's a journey. So don't say that why it is the end of the term. No, you don't make sense when you are saying it is the end of the term. It is handled the way it comes. When you are young, you are young. When you grow up, you do like a grown-up people. So this thing is being handled the way it is coming. And don't forget the bill which is there. It's brought by the government. It is not from the member. It is coming from the government. And we must handle it the way it is coming, Mami. Don't see that now it's when I'm talking. Yes, we handle things the way they come. That is how the life is.
In fact, we just had this discussion right now. How Kenyans get confused about the representation of or the structure of government. Yes. You sit in an arm of government called the legislature. And then you now are on font saying that you are not in government. Who said that you are you chose a position to be in the legislature so that you can do certain functions and exercise certain powers that are only given to the legislature, which the executive cannot exercise. But now you have crossed the lines. Nowadays the legislature, now people in MPs, senators, women reps sit in parliament, which is an institution of government, and tell Kenyans we are not in government. Don't you think that is a bit confusing?
Let me ask you, it's not confusing.
Yeah.
Let me just tell you, when we were all members, 100 MPs, 170 something. Were you not in Kenya when you saw that the president changed the government to opposition? Were you not here? You are here. So when you are telling me that now I'm still in the government, I'm a member of parliament of arguing things in the floor. And you can see he changed that. Maybe you look for him, you ask him, why did you change your government when you have a number and you change to the opposition? It has never happened in the world. But it happens, my brother. So now I can say this, Yes. One of the biggest problems we have today, it is the ODM. Why? The ODM, they are the people to fight corruption. To fight corruption. Because if there's a COVID in nini yote, haingekuwa problem. These people would be fighting the way they were fighting. By the way, even AUKOT, I know you agree with me. We need a strong government and we need very strong opposition. But now, wakati waliwacha hiyo kazi yao ya kupigania haki ya mwananchi, wakaenda in the same bedroom, wakaenda tackling together, then now the problem comes. Because there's nobody to defend Wanjiku. And now that's why we're saying we are in the government, but we have been seen, as you are saying, we are opposition because we are removed from the government. So we must understand that we must tackle these things in a different way. We need a strong...
No, but it would have been good to continue him so that people
and to throw it to Nani.
I think let's interrogate him because he's a representation actually of parliament, and that's a very good chance that actually he is.
Hello, Mheshimiwa.
When you come to the government,
yes,
unakuta opposition ambaye opposition meaning ni kuangalia na check and balance of the government, lakini unakuta hata hii mambo ya COVID pesa iliibiwa ya billionaires. They are inside.
Okay.
Or stealing, they are wako ndani. So do we have opposition of defending the government?
Okay. Haya, wacha nipe nafasi Arnold. Acha nipe nafasi Arnold kuuliza. So, Arnold, karibu.
Mheshimiwa, habari yako?
Mzuri sana.
Mimi naitwa Arnold Maliba.
Arnold Maliba.
Yeah, mimi napenda Nakuru sana. That is my retirement dream home. Kila siku nikipita Nakuru nikienda Western nafikiria nitaishi hapa.
And especially Bahati, you come Bahati.
Napenda hiyo Bahati sana. Sasa mheshimiwa, mimi
niko na Bahati.
Niko na Bahati. Mimi ningependa kuuliza maswali mawili tu. Yes. Lakini nitaanza na swali lenye sio swali lenyewe. Ningependa kukuuliza hivi. Mheshimiwa, ukijua ndani ya mkate kuna kakijiti kadogo sana lakini hiyo kijiti ni sumu, unaweza kula mkate huo?
My friend, that's different with politics. Where you want to go, I can see you.
No. Nilikuwa nataka tu nijibu. Sasa ndio nikuulize swali langu.
Umemwonea 18.
Umemwonea 18. Uwezi kupita kwa jangwa na umevaa shuka nyeupe. We are seeing you.
Sasa mheshimiwa, my question, number one question was that I have heard what you have said, why you supported BBI yesterday. And I partly agree with you because all politics is local.
Yes.
Kama kuna vitu vizuri vilikuwa vinakuja Nakuru has got 11 constituencies. Kama watapata zingine 5, it will politically not make sense kwako wewe as a local politician to oppose it.
Yes.
That is tactically sensible from how politics work because all politics is local.
Yes.
But argument yako kidogo nataka kuipeleka kwa kuisukuma kando ni kwa sababu of course ungependa Nakuru ipate constituencies extra kwa sababu tuko na nini, tuko na imbalance. Unapata kuna constituencies zingine zenye ziko like hizo constituencies tunasema ziko protected constituencies ndogo lakini zinapata pesa mingi na hivyo zina disenfranchise pahali kama Nakuru. Unajua Nakuru iko na town 9 na Nakuru Naivasha constituency alone iko na towns 9. Hiyo pahali ni kubwa sana. So ukweli walikuwa wanastahili kupata na bado wangepata constituency extra through BBI or without BBI. But argument yangu na swali nilikuwa ningependa kuuliza ni hili ni kuwa kwanza kabisa mheshimiwa, unajua BBI ni illegal kulingana na hii katiba.
Yes.
Kwa hivyo the premise upon which you even are supporting BBI in the first place ni kwa sababu parliament kidogo imepitia ujanja ikaendelea kukatalia BBI. Imekatalia hii CDF. Tunabadilisha tu majina na kuvalisha nguo tofauti. Ndio unapata hizi pesa zinaenda kwa constituencies kidogo zinafanya hiyo, ndio unatumia kama argument ya kusema kuwa umesupport, of which I support at the basic level. Lakini structurally ukisonga mbele kidogo unapata kuwa representation. Mimi sijui MPs wengi sana kutoka Nakuru. Najua wewe, najua Kihika, najua rafiki yangu Martha kidogo kwa sababu mko nini, mko vocal. So does it really mean that tukiongeza namba watu watakuwa wanakilishwa vizuri, as in quality versus quantity? Tukikuwa watu wengi, as in tukichagua members of parliament wengi, besides the issue ya pesa ya CDF, tukitoa CDF for example, tuseme hakuna CDF, quality ya representation. Kelele yako mimi naisikia na nimesikia unasema hakuna opposition na hizo vitu zingine zote. Hii structure, hii katiba ya kina AUKOT hii vile walitengeneza, hatukukuwa hata tunataka opposition. If parliament could do its work ya oversight, you don't need an opposition kabisa. Sasa mimi ningependa nauliza hii swali ya quality na quantity. Hiyo bunge nyinyi ni wengi sana, mnakaa kama secondary school. Tena mnataka kuleta watu wengine wengi. Hiyo wingi, does it add value really? Because tunasikia tu kelele ya watu wachache kama nyinyi ndio mnaongea ndio sababu mnachapwa na serikali. Sasa tulete watu wengine tena, flower girls wengi na watu kadhaa waendelee kujaza hiyo parliament. Na tayari nimekuambia BBI CDF ile ambayo umeangalia ni example umepeana ni strong, lakini tayari BBI ni wrong. CDF is illegal. So tukitoa CDF bado utataka tukue na MPs wengi. Hii quality ya representation iko ndani ya quantity kweli?
No, what I'll tell you, that is one of the point I don't agree with it with the BBI kwa sababu kuongeza hao wajumbe nani si kusema that actually the services will be there but the money will be down.
Okay.
But what I will tell you, being one of them, you mwenyewe, you know the problem lies with the people who are the voters. If you take the mirror and see yourself, see the MP and see the government.
Yes.
Because the government don't create itself. It's created by the people. So the first person to blame is you. When you vote, hii mambo nazungumuza, you could advise people how to elect the member of parliament. If you come in my constituency when I'm doing the campaign, I always tell people, if you get somebody better than me, you can choose. But you see, because of the work I've done in the ground, people still stuck with me. I don't give even 50 shillings somebody to elect me. I'm a unique constituency. And ask that takwel anajua anapitaga hapo bahati ninajua paje na simamaga kona namna hii. I know. Anataka yeye kumoja.
Unataka kutangaza makona zangu mheshimiwa?
Bas nimeacha.
Sema pole.
Mwesh, kabla
okay pole. I withdraw the statement.
Na utume kakitu juu umedraw na inakuja pesa.
Mwesh.
I must tackle. Sasa nikwambie ndugu yangu Unajua, I agree with you. Sio everything 100%. But let me tell you. Wakati wewe umeoa bibi na amefika kwa nyumba and she's pregnant. We don't talk about the marriage anymore. We start talking, how do we tackle this child coming? And you start preparing immediately if you are a clever person. Kwa sababu you did it wrong. Ukadunga mimba na mjaoana, mjaenda kanisa. Hautasema hii kitu itolewe ndio turudi kwa kanisa kwanza. Utatakon. Kusema sasa the mistake went. Makosa ilifanyika lakini I'm sorry, let's see how we can tackle this child. That is how sometimes we do, because when the government brings these bills and you say, and I'm saying openly, the corruption of this government. It is so corrupt than any other government imekuwa kwa nchi yetu ya Kenya. Let me tell you, na uko na kitabu hapo, mimi nakuja hapo naona uko na Biblia. Ufungue Mathayo 19 mstari wa 27.
Anasema nini?
Inasema hivi. Yesu alipoambia wafuasi wake wote mnifuate. Muache kutega samaki na kila kitu yote. Mwanafunzi mmoja alimuuliza, sasa unasema namna hiyo Yesu, tutapata nini siku ya mwisho? Akasema ile kitu mtu wako naye atapata mara 200 na baada ya hiyo utapata ufalme wa mbinguni. Mwanafunzi mmoja akasema, Yesu sasa umeongea. I want to ask you, Yesu hakuwa ameongea mbeleni? Ama kufanya miujiza mbeleni?
Mheshimiwa, niko na swali kabla hujamaliza.
Lakini ngoja nimalize. Lakini huyo mwanafunzi alisema hivyo kwa sababu aligusa mambo ambayo inawahusu. So even in this BBI, we are talking the basic of what can help the mwananchi. And we are not saying it's 100%.
Lakini kuuliza mheshimiwa, kabla sijapea Arnold akumalizie. Wakati unasema watu
animalizie. Animalizie namna gani?
Yaani aseme swali ya mwisho yeye. Arnold.
No, tuuza Kiswahili sanifu.
Kiswahili najua ilikuja na meli kutoka Tanzania. Sasa nikuulize mheshimiwa. Ndio nipe Arnold aseme aulize swali ya mwisho. Nikuuliza wakati unasema our people. Pia EKURU wako na swali. Wakati unasema our people, watu wetu, hao ni kina nani?
Kenyans.
Haya, Arnold.
Ninajua pale unataka kuniweka kutako. Unachezi ingia hapo.
Haya, sawa. Ndio Arnold basa kuuliza swali.
Mheshimiwa, swali langu la mwisho linahusiana na ile kazi ambayo nimefanya kwa miaka 10. Nimekuwa nikifanyia kazi vijana for and with. Ningependa kukuuliza wewe mheshimiwa. Umekuwa mbunge kwa miaka kama 10 sasa, inaenda miaka 10, right?
Yes.
Kuna vijana wowote wale wenye umementa, unajua kidogo huwa tunalalamika kuna uongozi wa kesho, hatuna enough numbers na hizo zingine zote, lakini pia ni kwa sababu wale watu wenye kwa power hawashiki wengine mkono. Najua wewe hakuna mtu alikushika mkono, lakini ningependa nikuulize, kuna wale vijana hapo chini umeona they are promising, wanakaa kama watu wanaweza kuwa wazuri, kwa sababu ngunjiri hataishi milele, siku yetu ikifika tunatoka. Kuna vijana umementa hapo bahati?
Wengi sana my brother. I have one boy ambaye nilimsomesha, alikuwa anachunga mbuzi kwa barabara ya Ngashura huko ndani. Kuchunga mbuzi. Hii mbuzi ya kuchunga kwa barabara. That boy I got him. Na nikampeleka kwa shule na nikaanza kumlipia na CDF. Na nikaanza kumsaidia sasa maisha yake kwa jingine pole pole. That boy nimemleta, amemaliza shule, ameenda university, amemaliza. Now nimeweka yeye kwa CDF. He is doing the best in Ngashura constituency Kiamaina. He is doing the best. Sio hiyo peke yake. Mimi ningetaka na ningesema namna hiyo ndio nionekane ile mambo nasema mimi ni mzee nikisema ukweli. Next week I want to offer you kuja kwa ofisi yangu, I use the vehicle of CDF. Upeleke uangalie ile watoto nimementa na vile nimewapeleka, wale nimesomesha college, wale nimepeleka engineering, wale nimepeleka catering, na ile biashara wanafanya saa hii Mombasa, wengine wako Naivasha, wengine wako Nakuru Midland, wengine wako Amerika. Nikupeleke base kwa ni interview them. Because me, I know how to mentor, as you are saying, changing the life of somebody.
Yeah.
Na hiyo ndio itakuwa ushuhuda yako ya mbinguni. Kwa sababu hakuna magoti haitapiga mbele ya Mwenyezi Mungu. But we elected some politicians ambaye unajua.
Yeah.
The way they do, it is stealing the CDF. They do nothing. But I'm different myself. And that's why I'm offering myself. Mkuja na takwe. Na hata ningependa kuwa kwa sababu ni my friend. Akuja advise me na angalia niambie in which percent am I doing well or bad. Because that is I've mentored the people. I've done a lot to the people. I'm telling you that.
So Mheshimiwa will take your challenge.
Yes.
I've got one final question for you.
Yes.
This is my opinion, Mheshimiwa.
Yes.
Hii bunge yetu ya sasa.
Yeah.
Sisi huku, the way the tacklers wanaona,
yeah,
there was no point of electing all the 416 of you. Sababu, hiyo bunge ni kama, bunge moja ni kama ni Senate ama ni National Assembly, ingefaa tu tuite Uhuru Kenyatta na hiyo ingine tuite Raila Amolo Odinga. Sababu watu wana feel that parliament is not living up to its 3 roles of oversight, representation, and calling government to account. And because, for example, of not failing to pass legislation, that's why Maraga advised the president to dissolve parliament. Kushindwa tu kupitisha ule mswada wa third gender or 2/3 gender rule. Sasa watu wanauliza, hii BBA that bunge inapitisha wewe ulipigia kura jana, are you legitimate? The feeling generally is that this parliament today is an illegality. So you are discussing an illegal document as an illegal institution yourself. Sijui maoni yako ni yapi?
Maoni yangu ni hii, you know, whatever you do in the parliament after passing or not passing something, there is another hand of 3 arms of the government. And it goes judiciary. Now you, kwa sababu ya kwanza ni professor na wewe ni wakili, go in the court and challenge the things you are saying. And it's going to be accepted and it's going to be listened by the Kenyans according to the structure ile uliweka wewe mwenyewe. Kutoka court mpaka Supreme Court. Wewe uliweka wewe mwenyewe. So, Paulo, just a minute. Wewe fuata baada ya hiyo bunge is not the end. It has to go in the court. And by the way, there are 9 cases in the court and you know that.
Yes, I am aware.
So what I can say, let's respect the institution the way they work. And also let me tell you, don't say 400 and something MPs. They should not be there. You are fighting Zwanjiko. They did not elect themselves.
That's
what you need to do now, use all your fund and your wisdom to educate the people. It's only 1 year and 4 months to enter for election. Educate them how to elect.
But
don't blame them after electing.
No, let me
just tackle them and advise them how they should elect better MPs to you so that they can be able to do better.
No, let me
should educate Wanjiko.
Let me tackle you back, Mheshimiwa.
Tackle too.
One of the geniuses of Kenya's constitution was to pass a chapter called leadership and integrity. And leadership and integrity requires that we want leaders of a certain character, you know, in our leadership. Now, you, when you realize that as an institution of governance in this country, that we have failed to even pass a law that is scheduled in the Schedule 5, why haven't you, Mheshimiwa Ngunjiri, yourself decided, I'm going to resign because we have failed? Because that's the integrity Kenyans were looking for. And I'm happy you are leading in the CDF. Lakini pia, this parliament, including yourself, Mheshimiwa, may fail on the question of integrity. Mungesema sisi tumewafeli wa Kenya, wacha tuende to seek fresh mandate. CJ amesema we have failed to pass this law. So we don't need to take issues of integrity to court. Hata we mwenyewe as a leader unaweza kusema kweli hapa nimekosa.
Let me ask you, Kurukoze. And I'm in record na utafute clip zangu nikisema all the time I started 3 years ago.
Yes.
Serikali ivunjwe, bunge ivunjwe. I've been talking. I've been saying that. What else do you want me to say? Should I hang myself so that I can be seen around myself?
Hapana, usijinyonge. Kuna kamba karibu. Nyang'anya mheshimiwa jaji.
Hata kwa hiyo redio hiyo tuko kwanza ya tackle. My friend, before God in heaven, I've been saying serikali ivunjwe. Hii serikali imeshindwa, the mandate of the people ivunjwe. I've been saying that. But AUKOT, if you cannot change the country, whom do you think myself when I'm peke yangu attend design na watu yangu ya bahati ni waache namna hiyo na walikipea mimi mandate? That is wrong.
Sasa si ukuje mheshimiwa,
karibu punguza mzigo.
Just a minute. What you should be saying, you should be saying this, the time has come.
Yes.
We are going for election 2022. Sasa uweke pressure yako na ujeuri na ujanja na kila kitu yote na kutackle. Watu wachague watu wazuri according to the constitution kuliko kuleta confusion for now. Kusema all the members of parliament they are not good. That one I disagree with you, AUKOT. And you see how good you are, AUKOT. People do not elect you. Why? It is because the face of the country is the face of the people.
Sababu hata wewe ukunipigia kura, si nilikuwa naona na kampeni ya candidate wako wa Jubilee. Lakini ni sawa tu. Najua mali tutakutana na wewe tukae hiyo maneno.
Hapana, don't give me the let you AUKOT. Nitie samaki, don't let me.
Amesema mkule samaki,
You know I can say when anything happens, AUKOT amepea mimi nini.
This is friendly fire. Nataka tutakula samaki.
Lakini ningeomba out of radio.
Yes.
Tukutane pahali ulikuwa unanipeleka siku hiyo, unakumbuka?
Nakumbuka.
Sasa unipeleke hapo tutackle maneno sasa chini kwa chini.
Haya sawa.
Kabla sijakuachilia mheshimiwa, naomba ujumbe uongeleshe Wakenya. Nimeona kuna Wakenya wengi ambao wanatofautiana na wewe sana hapa. Wanasema kwamba umewasaliti na umesaliti mawazo yao, na pia wewe mwenyewe umejisaliti kwa sababu wanasema kwamba ulikuwa na maono tofauti, lakini umesema kwamba ni mtu mjinga tu ambaye zibadilisha akili. Hata mimi nitackle kidogo, lakini Wakenya wengi wametofautiana. Na nimeona pale Twitter, nimeona Facebook pia watu wanalia messages ambazo zinaingia hapa. Wanatofautiana na wewe sana. Haswa watu ambao wanatoka kwa constituency yako ya Bahati. So sijui unataka kuambia nini Wakenya?
Nataka kuambia hivi. These are not the new thing,
Yes.
Yesu aliposulubishwa, alipelekwa kotini na Farao RHODA or something who was taking through the court alisema huyu mtu hana makosa. Lakini kwa sheria zenyu mutaka uliwe vile mnataka. Unataka nani? Wakasema wanataka mwizi.
Nataka Barnabas.
Mwizi. Wanataka Barnabas, mwizi. Barnabas ndio alikata hiyo kesi, lakini wakasema wanataka mwizi. Today we are preaching the word of God. And saying God is the savior. Whom am I if Jesus was crucified for talking the truth and give us the new faith?
Umejitolea kwa msalaba.
From that. Hata mimi I'm still the same. People will say for now, maybe because I'm not fighting, maybe the way they wanted, maybe they will say I'm a different person. But you see, a clever person mean mtu ambaye umena nyumba yako, umezaa, una watoto, unajua Mungu, you do things according to your wisdom and the way you think.
Okay.
So you could tackle, don't be worried of that, my friend.
Okay.
Even yourself, where you are, my friend, you also tackle things in a different way, the way you think. Hatuwezi kuja hapo sisi kukwambia tufanyaka, sengine nakuja hapo na niambia hapana, hatutaenda kwa njia hiyo. Aiendagi hivyo. Nani agree hivi? Kwa sababu ndio nataka ulio nini hiyo session. So it's not something new, and let me tell you, it is good somebody to have impact of showing people something different. But when you become a psychopath of the people or somebody, then you are going on the wrong direction. I have to be like AUKOT, who talk the truth but is never elected. And one day he will be elected and people will start saying, oh, we wish we knew. Huyu mtu ndio tungechagua zamani na angekuwa ametupeleka mbali sana. That's what I can say. But what I would say at the end, after all these things coming, tuwe na sober mind, tutafuta ufalme wa mbinguni kwanza, mambo mengine yote Mungu atatupea.
Sasa sungetafuta ufalme kwanza wachana Biblia.
God is still in the seat.
Yes.
And God is still there. Wewe usiwache tuseme ati tuachane na Biblia. I'm saying tutafuta ufalme kwanza wewe utafuta ufalme wa mbinguni na utataka nini mambo mengine yote kwa njia mzuri.
Wewe maana tuna ufalme mbinguni.
Kwani unajui Bitoka alikuwa bishop?
Mimi ni pastor bwana, bishop.
No, unajua kuna wale wanaomba inaenda mbinguni lakini ya bitoko haipiti hiyo ghorofa yake hapo juu. Inafika hapo inakuwa handled hapo.
Wacha yetu sasa. Nataka unipe tu dakika 2 nikusomee comments. Uko Nairobi kwanza?
Mimi niko Nairobi.
Unakuja tako lini?
Wewe uniambie, mimi nataka direct waje ya kusoma yako hiyo.
Tuesday, kuja on Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yes.
Za ngapi?
Kuja kama kawaida saa 1:30.
Saa 1:30.
Uko umefika saa 1 na dakika 15.
Yes.
Sawa, Tuesday tuana, lakini nataka unipe dakika 2 nikusomee ujumbe hapa ambazo ziko hapa ndani. Jamani tu David anasema ask Ngunjiri, now that almost 40 constituencies are going to Mount Kenya, does it mean that the prime minister will rotate within one area? Some pia ask Ngunjiri now that okay, hiyo nimeisoma. King of Samuda anasema MP is voting for a particular aspect of that bill. The Trojan horse as other articles that are disastrous to the growth of this country in many aspects. Did he have in mind other articles when passing the BBI bill? Hiyo ni swali ambalo umeulizwa. Naona pia Otenya Chris anasema listening to Ngunjiri, I just hear same animals different forest. Haya RHODA ndio huyo hapa. Njagi anasema sorry Bitok, but as soon as you have brought this MP on are forced to see. Haya watu wamesema mambo yako hawataki kusikia sababu umewaacha mataani. Haya naona Paulina Mzee anasema mheshimiwa Kimani Ngunjiri has been fighting against the BBI nonsense. Why have you now changed your mind? Tuambie ni nini ulipewa. Will you also change the DP in the last minute? Aaron Korir anasema please ask Ngunjiri why he spent almost 3 years campaigning against the bill, then all of a sudden he voted yes. Haya Patrick Kwecha anasema Mugala muwe na haki mpe. Honorable Ngunjiri supported me to pursue masters, yet he does not know me. I'm from Kuresoi North. Haya Stanley White anasema Bitok, if the only issue with our country is resources, getting down to the mwananchi, instead of increasing the constituencies, they should have changed the law into college votes based on population. Pesa ziende, sio watu. Tupunguza wanasiasa lakini tuongeze pesa kwenye county. Wacha nikuangalie pia hizo zilikuwa za YouTube. Watu wako na vilio sana mingi. Naomba ningekuwa na wakati wa kusomea, lakini kama unakuja Tuesday, nataka ukuje udede deal na wananchi wako wenyewe siku ya Jumanne, si ndio?
I'll handle, I'll tackle them.
Please on Tuesday uje, na kama uko Nairobi pia leo tutafanya tukule samaki tukijaribu kukuhubiria. Unajua mimi kama bishop na nimerecruit tu jamani nabii, sasa siku hizi anaona mbele, tukuje tuketi tukule ranch, tukule samaki alafu tuone mahali shida.
Ukuru kodi anajua paaje anapelekaga mimi.
Sawa, tupatane basi saa 8 tule lunch.
Yes, anipigie kwa simu yangu tuongee na wewe pamoja
Asante sana ndugu.
Asante.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Haya, tunafungua bunge haraka upesi tukifunga. Tunafungua bunge, naona kuna masimu ambazo tumeweza kuzipoteza hapa. Tunafungua bunge 07798010 07798010. Naona bunge imewaka sana. So nafungua bunge kwa dakika 10 ambazo zinafuata, alafu tuweze kufunga kazi. 07798010 07798010. Bunge la mwenyeji iko wazi. Nambari ni 07798010. Naona kuna watu okay. Haya, wacha tusikize hapa. Jambo, habari asubuhi.
Habari yako Gerard?
Good morning to you, sir.
This is Martin Warwe from Kasarani.
Yes, Martin. Good to see you, bro.
Yeah, salama sana. Good to see you too. Say hi to Arnold and Dr. EKURU. Leo sidhani niko na mambo mengi ya kusema.
Nasikia maneno.
After listening to Mheshimiwa Ngunjiri, I think the less you say about this BBI, the better.
Inakuaje baba?
Sometimes I think, how can you take, you're supposed to be serious about this thing. I think after listening to Ngunjiri, sometimes I think politicians, tu ni mambo ya kawaida tu. They see nothing serious about this thing. Tu ikifika ni mambo ya siasa, they just play politics and life continues. But I think the only thing that I would want to insist, and I think this is something that perhaps MALIBA and Dr. EKURU have insisted to us. I want to agree first with Dr. EKURU that before we have a leadership problem in this country, I think we have a followership problem. We have to reflect, we have to have an introspection as people and ask ourselves, what do we want? How do you want our future to be? I mean, what are our interests in this thing? So that we make better informed choices for posterity about this country. I think as people, we must take our blame, and we are not excusing politicians. We taking the blame does not, excuse politicians. I think we can talk about them, but we also have to evaluate ourselves, our choices at the ballot, and strive to do better. The other thing I think I want to say is that on this issue of BBI, because we have seen, of course, we have always known we cannot trust the political class. And I say it in its entirety, this political class cannot be trusted, both in opposition and in government. Now, the ball is in our court. If the courts rule that this BBI should go to a referendum, I really pray they rule that it should not go to a referendum. But if it comes to that, we must play our part. We must reject this PBI at the ballot. That is the best bet for us. And I want to urge every one of us who is listening to this particular show, let us be persuaded by the views and the position perhaps of Dr. EKURU and others and reject this thing at the ballot. Otherwise, I want to wish the panelists a good weekend and tuendelee kusikiza kipindi.
Asante sana ndugu yangu. Na usiondoke hapo. Uli hapa tusikie inakwaje. Haya, acha tusikie anasemaje mwingine pia. Siku njema baba. Haya, jambo. Good morning. Bunge la mwenyeji.
Jambo Gerald.
Niambie kaka.
Ni Martin.
Yes, Martin, mambo.
Poa sana. Mimi kitu ningesema tu I think niko disappointed na Ngujiri. But nimefurahia na Moses Kuria. Unajua kama watu wa Uhuru Kenyatta wenyewe wanasema wataki BBI, I think that is a good sign. Sababu Moses Kuria alipiga no, so that's a good step towards the right direction. At least ina communicate to the entire country that watu wa Kenyatta wenyewe wa president wamesema hapana. And then I think sasa kila kitu iko in our court, we as the citizen, and when it comes to us, let's just do the honorable thing and vote this thing no.
Hi. Good morning, bunge la mwenyeji. Bunge la mwenyeji. Jambo.
Jambo, ni Aaron again, eh?
Aaron, niambie baba.
Hey boss, Kunjiri has really disappointed me today.
Haya. Hata tumemnyang'anya hata chaji ya simu, amesema anaweza jinyonga.
Najua, you see, I think pia Uro alifanya kitu mzuri sana kutuonyesha na these people now. Because inaona hiyo voting yenye ilikuwa live. Wangejificha. You see, hawezi kuwa for almost 3 years alikuwa anaongea against PBI. So nataka kuniambia in those 3 years hapo anasikiza wananchi. Ama alikuwa anasikizaga nani? You see?
Hakuwa na Wanjiko wakati hiyo. Jana ndiye amemwona
Wanjiko ameingia jana. Kuna mahali alikuwa ameenda kidogo.
Mwambie Kunjiri tumejua ni mkora hiyo story nyingine. Hata aseme nini? That's obvious. Wewe ndiambia no. Wewe sema ati mwakoka leo usiku unaamka asubuhi mwakoka na huko amewakoka hao.
Lakini si unajua
yeye tumempata red handed.
Lakini si unajua unaweza kuwa kama ule anakuwa tunani Saul akielekea Damascus kutesa Wakristo.
A day before
anagongwa na nini? Na lightning.
A day before I think ilibona akitoa hata nini alikuwa ametoa press conference. So Kunjiri waambia hata angepiga timu tataka. Anajikaraga tu bado na mafuta yake hata hizi akisiaza huyu.
Ati haki ya Mungu.
Huyu anachimbia na leo kuchimba. Kuisha. You see what unaona mtu kama Moses Kuria. Moses Kuria alikuwa hata nilikuwa nashuku Moses Kuria ata support. But now Moses Kuria alisoma kaona hapa.
Ni kubaya.
Wacha nijiokoe.
Lakini nilishangaa kwa sababu unajua wakati Rigathi Gachagua alikuwa hapa akasema eti Moses Kuria ni betrayer. Lakini kumbe Moses Kuria ako loyal kwa wananchi.
No, he's not loyal. Ni ile tu ameficha white. These people are not loyal.
Hata tusikie mambo ya UK. Jambo. Bunge la mwenyeji.
Hello.
Bunge la mwenyeji iko wazi. Jambo.
Jambo. I'm calling from the UK.
Who am I speaking to?
My name is Nancy. I follow your show and I cannot tell you how disappointed I am with Gunjiri. He's a sellout. He's a sellout.
Wow.
We've been listening to him for 3 years. He seems like a guy who can help Kenyans kutukomboa to the slavery of being in captive of these leaders.
Ukombozi hakuna.
My dear, this guy, he's a sellout. He is somebody who cannot be trusted. Ametuonyesha vile tunambongo they're given. Whatever Mike Sonko told us about our bunge, it is true today because I cannot see why this guy.
Gani akindukulu ama gani?
I want to say that our leaders like Kimani Ichung'wah, Ndindi Nyoro, Alice Wahome. They're the people who stand for the common man idea. We do not need a bloated parliament. We do not need any more representation. Kenya is overrepresented. We want money to go to the counties, but no more leaders. We do not need this. Kenyans, please, let's unite. Let's vote this BBI out. Nonsense. Kenyans are dying of COVID, and these guys are telling us about more MPs. Uhuru and Raila has failed us, and to be honest with you, I'm disappointed as a Kenyan who is in diaspora. We send so much money to support our families because the government will not do anything for them. Disappointed, totally.
You're done. Umekasirika kabisa.
Ole.
AUKOT, keep fighting for us. We can hear you. You're there standing for Mwananchi. We have to fight to punguza mzigo.
And by the way, one of the proposal I'm bringing back on a punguza mizigo is to force IEBC to register diaspora and to ensure they vote.
Okay, that would be good because we will vote them out kwa sababu sisi hawatatupatia 500 bob.
Yeye ndio mnawapea.
Hawapeanagi 500, wanapea 50 bob.
Sisi we will vote them out because we want leaders with integrity. Kimani Gonjiri ametuonyesha tukiendelea na wao we are doomed. Kenya is gone to the dogs.
Even the dogs
have refused.
They have refused Kenya.
Just say the country is not with us.
And big up to Rigathi Gachagua. They need to keep fighting. We are behind them.
Hebu nikumbushe jina lako tena.
My name is Nancy.
Nancy, yeah? Nancy, it's good to see you, Nancy. Asante sana na tuendelee kusaidiana hapa hii nchi mahali iko imekwama kwa matope. Tunasaidiana wote kuvuta. Asante sana, kuwa na siku njema. Haya, good morning. Bunge la Mwananchi iko wazi. Bunge la Mwananchi. Bunge la Mwananchi. Yes sir.
Bitok, yes.
Ano hiyo?
I'm good. This is Jatelo.
Jatelo bwana.
Inji
bwana amekwama.
Omera.
Tuvunje inji kila mtu achukue kipande yake aende kwao.
Ndugu yako alisema should be disbanded and everybody should go home.
Tuvunje everybody given their peace and they go home. Because I'm quite surprised to hear when Gujiri, this MP of Nakuru comes and says that particular people should have been in opposition so that they can be able to check what the government is doing. And now he's actually blaming those people for joining the government because now the government cannot be checked. Meaning that the government was doing something wrong. And these people kept on checking, especially within the first half of the first term of the government. That's notwithstanding. I don't think whether any of these people do represent what the leadership of this country should be as it right now.
Okay.
Watu wote ni wanyama, ni miti tu inabadilika.
Wakwenda nje.
Monkeys are the same. Only that now they're just running from Lenana Forest to
Ngong Forest.
Wengine wanakuja katika road. Some of them will see them jumping even in the houses.
Karibu anze kutembea kwa tarmac pia sasa. Some forest, hata siku hizi forest wamemaliza.
Amembaramba ametoka kwa matope siku hizi yako kwa lami. Asante sana Jatelo.
Well, you do this. I think as a Kiongozi is saying, my good friend EKURU. Forget about all the bashing and all those things that the branded you. Let's start having a new form of leadership in this country. I think it's possible if Sudan did it. What makes us not to do it if Bashir was removed.
We need a new conversation.
We were depending on even people like Akina Babuino, and now they're the ones who are going around, I don't know, glorifying another person simply because they want to remain in power. No, we want to see a new crop of leadership. People like Sakaja should wake up, AUKOT should wake up, Chris Otera here should wake up, get into the leadership of this government. Tubadilisha hii kitu, watu watoke wapige kura na kutuibie kura yetu.
Sawa Jatelo. Siku njema, jambo, Bunge la Mwananchi.
Mito.
Pole sana, mbona simu yako imekuja sana, pole.
Uko aje bwana, mko aje?
Hatuko salama, inji imekwama kwa matope, inateleza tu chwe.
Sasa. Kibunjiri amedisappoint sana bwana.
Tena?
Sana.
Poleni, Kaluma nasikia ni 20, pakeni tu kwa road tusonge na.
Hii imeshidi sasa. Deputy sasa anafaa atoke hao majamaa kabisa.
Aende wapi sasa?
Wataka tena kabisa.
Sisi tumeama sasa, tuko sasa kwa punguza mzigo.
Tuko punguza mzigo sasa. Lakini ikikuja hapa kwa ground hiyo kitu tunaangusha mapema sana.
Uko sure?
Haitaenda mahali kudanganya.
Wala watu walituambia rege itasimama ndio ameshindwa kuisimamisha. Sasa anashindwa, tutaweza kweli? Ukongo utawezana?
Sasa kwetu kwa raia tutasimamisha.
Okay. Haya, wewe ni nani?
Mimi naitwa Andrew kutoka hapa Kasarani, Karane.
Haya sawa, asante sana watu wa Kasarani. Kuna watu wa Kasarani nao kwa walk kabisa. Ndio tacklas wakuu kabisa. Watu wa Kasarani wameamua wataki mchezo wa serikali. Haya, hata nasikia Okoto unasema haya, mngojee Ngunjiri Tuesday. Ndio mtamfanyia tackle. Sawa sawa, siku njema. Sasa mnasikia majamaa. Jambo, good morning. Bunga la mwenye nchi. Haya, nyonga simu hapo usijisikize, sauti inachelewa. Zima hiyo pale nyuma. Huyo sasa nataka kujisikiza. Haya, jambo, good morning. Bunga la mwenye nchi.
Good morning Bitok.
Sema kimeumana.
Uni Marius kutoka Nairobi. Actually ni Marius Kipkirui, naonanga unasomanga jina yangu Marius. It's Marius.
Ninajua mimi nilisomea polling station. Najua nitegemea ulienda shule. Kuna group of schools na kuna polling station. Mimi nilienda polling station, bahati mbaya kidogo.
Pia mimi ni wa polling station.
Sasa ni kama polling station yetu ilikuwa karibu na town.
Sasa Bitok, actually for real, I'm really disappointed by our members of parliament. Especially Ngunjiri from Nakuru.
Okay.
Actually nimekuwa nikifollow some of his press conference but only to realize that ni wale watu wa kusema na kutotenda, because how do you speak of wine then take the poison? Yeah, but actually according to me
ni mbaya.
Ni mbaya. Hata yeye mwenyewe venye alikuwa anaongea kuna that conscience.
Okay.
Anajaribu mkijaribu kumtackle
anasema naona mahali mnaelekea. Anaepa mapema.
Anaepa mapema because he's killed of himself. Anajua ali mess up na actually that Tuesday we are eagerly waiting for him to mwambie.
Subiri mtackle. Asante. Bunga la mwananchi. Simu 3 tu za mwisho. Bunga la mwananchi.
Bunga la mwananchi.
Jambo.
Mimi nimehuzunishwa sana na huyo MP jirani yangu. Mimi
sema kimeumana kwanza.
Kimeumana ndugu yangu.
Haya.
Huyu jamaa amekuwa akituambia venye na sijui BBI ni mbaya, alafu kisha anatuangusha sisi majirani wake hapa Subukia. Mande, lakini mimi ningekuwa huyu mheshimiwa anajiitanga Ruto. Saa hii ningekuwa nimeunganisha watu tulidi no campaign. Hata sahau hiyo story ya kuwa president 2022. Angazie 2027. Angazie 2027. Saa hii ashikane na mkono mwananchi, kwa sababu kila mtu sasa anapiga simu anasema Ngunjiri ametuangusha, na si Ngunjiri peke yake. Ama MP wote 235 walivote. Yes. They have really failed us, and I wish we could mark them and throw them away out of that parliament.
Asante ndugu yangu.
In 2020.
Pole bwana. Uko na duka karibu?
Mimi hapana, mimi sina.
Hakuna duka karibu, nikakwambia utafuta Kaluma. Ni 20. Bunga la mwananchi.
Yes.
Sema dadi.
Morning, Gerard.
Morning to you, sir.
Okay, this is Meshak.
Dede.
Salimia daktari and my friend Maliba.
Meshak, najua umekuja na mawe, lakini tupa moja ile ndogo usitupe kubwa.
Sijakuja na mawe. I'm just surprised that people are surprised.
Na nikuuliza Odede, ile D ilikuwa kwa ODM ya democracy ilienda wapi? Ama kuna mtu alienda nayo?
ODM bado iko na democracy.
Ni selective democracy.
Not selective. Why would you say that?
I'm just saying. I was asking, so I stand to be corrected.
I mean, we are just giving Kenyans what they fought for.
Their own prescriptions.
Yeah.
Yes.
kule dawa yao.
Kenya proud for this government, even those who are calling from UK telling us how they are disappointed. I mean, we don't really, I cannot lie to them that I'm sad. I'm not.
You are not. You have just started the journey.
Yes, I am completing it with Uhuru.
Kenya itaisonga yani.
Mesha kako wapi tutume polisi hapo. Naongea mbaya.
The only thing I can tell, if there's anybody from cities camp watching, I mean, hao watu wanakula fair, hao wabunge wanakula fair. I mean, it cannot be that a week or 2 weeks earlier they are hosted in Karen, they are 139 or 140.
Waambie Meshak.
Yeah, and then when it is serious, when it matters, they are 83, and then the second start voting, they are 63. I mean, hiyo ni kukula fair.
Nani makosa?
So, I mean, yeah, the DP should be very careful. But again, if you are a student of politics and you've been following politics in the country, some of us were young and probably so people talking about Jaramogi and a few other guys, only to end up with Paul Muite alone, or you realize Paul Muite is getting more votes in the constituency than his boss Jaramogi, and things like that. So we know how it has been, and I am wondering why people feel like this is betrayal. I mean, it is our way of politics.
Okay.
This is who we have been.
Asante, let's complete. Maliza safari basi.
We have been here with so people stopping the motorcade, the whole motorcade with Kibaki and saying Baba should address us, Raila Jamba. And then all of a sudden the next minute, huyo ni sijui mtu aina gani. So why is somebody behaving like, I didn't know this is going to happen?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm surprised that people are surprised. I'm surprised that I'm still coming.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, sawa sana Dede. Maliza complete the journey. Asikia unamaliza safari. Wewe maliza safari baba.
Anasaidia wamalize.
Anasema you are assisting jubileants, the jubilators to finish, to complete the journey. Haya, haja tusikie jamaa mpige sana. Jambo, mbona manyenchi simu la mwisho?
Jambo Gerard.
Jambo kaka. Pole sana, naona simu yako umeingia sana.
Nimepiga
mkinichangia ka kitu nitatengeneza ile machine na Q-call. So nitakuwa naweka kwa line, mnakuja moja kwa moja. Sasa ukiongea hivi ukimaliza tuma ka kitu.
Haramba tutafanya. Sasa ninakuambia mumemkabili Kimani Ngujiri kabisa. Kimani Ngujiri juzi jana amekuwa Judas. Aliamua kwenda kula na watesi wetu. Na ninamkumbusha kwamba chawa aumae ni aliye fungoni.
Haya, hayuko mbali na
yule chawa anatembea chini na kikulacho kingoni mwako. Jinsi ambavyo tulisema, you cannot preach wine and,
and drink wine
and take, yes.
Or either way, depends on what you love.
Say what you mean and mean what you say. Kwa hivyo ninashukuru sana kwa sababu tumemweza leo. Wacha sasa watuletee. Nasikia hata Kuria alisema kwamba wale ambao walipiga yes walipewa 100 jioni. Na nilikwambia jana kwamba wawe tayari na 100 zetu. Sasa ili tupitishe lazima nasi tupewe zetu.
Mko kwa ground mnangoja ifike.
Tunangoja zifike.
Sasa tunapatana naye saa 8 kama ataniwaachia kitu nitawaambia kama alipewa ama hakupewa.
Waswahili walisema na kama utarudia hii Gerard nitakutumia 1000. Cha mkufu mwanafu huna kila ha, cha mwanafu mkufu huna kila ha.
Kaa tuna pesa.
Hebu rudia.
Kana pesa yako bro. Hii ni punishment. Asante sana jamaa wa Cheragaji na kutakia yote mema. Haya, it's been a good day. Bunga la mwenyeji tumeifunga. Asanteni sana kuweza kuchangia. So tunaenda baada ya mwisho sasa tukifunga kiosk, na kama unafunga kiosk naomba useme mawazo yako, lakini kwanza kuna kitu ambayo hatujaangazia. Mambo ya suluhu kufika Kenya. Na kuna mambo mengi. Jana tulisikia Tanzania imeshika fishermen pale imarest fishermen. Uhuru anafungulia mahindi ya Tanzania ingie Kenya. Tanzania inashika fishermen na inashika boat pale. Kuru ndamaliza nayo Kuru. Sasa wacha nianze pale. Ndio nikuje hivi. Arnold.
So ninasema juu ya suluhu peke yake ama ninasema feedback
yangu? Suluhu, feedback yako, alafu nasema suluhu, alafu nafunga kiosk.
Okay. Vile nilivyomuona Suluhu akija hapa, nikaona akiongea, nikagundua kuwa mambo yale ambayo nimekuwa nikisoma wakati mwingine it's not far-fetched. For the simple reason that sometimes nations go to war with each other, not for the public good or the common good of their individual republics, but sometimes for individuals. I remember a certain business person who came out and he spoke, and you can actually tell if you're properly a Kenyan who understands how things work. Yeah. And you probably also know how East Africa work and what he does in Tanzania and everything else. You could easily tell that sometimes regimes are captives of some business people. And knowing too well that the guy is a big financier or CCM, so you find sometimes the politicians are actually being they are puppets of business people and private interests away from public good, including good neighborliness and stuff. So I do not expect that Suluhu showing up would be a solution that is a microwave solution to us as a nation, or rather the relationship that between Kenya and Tanzania that is actually troubled. We have got a long history of love-hate relationship, so it's not going to actually go off overnight. It's actually systemic on the other side of the border. The distrust for Kenyans and other things on the other side is quite systemic, and they have taken time to actually inculcate just the same way kwa hii country hapa kwetu. Kama mtu haelewi kitu anakuambia hiyo ni theory. You know, sometimes when EKURU does not tell you this, but every time he tries to explain a concept to a people, it's practical, it makes sense. Lakini kwa sababu watu hawataki kuelewa ama hawaitaki, the easiest way ya kuidismiss ni wanaita theory. Yes. Anyway, kwa Suluhu kuja ilikuwa kitu mzuri, lakini unajua hii gender pia iko na mchezo mingi sana. On a lighter note, she sits there and then and she tells us, this is a very light note. She sits and she tells us that hii ndio ziara yake ya kwanza official. Atuko Uganda alienda tu kuweka signature tu. Huku kukuja Kenya hii ndio ziara yake ya kwanza.
Hatuna jamani nilipanga tu na yeye, lakini wewe sasa ndio kweli sasa. Hii relationship sasa.
If they ruled the world, probably we would be a better people. Hata hatuku catch. You know, initially people had said alienda Uganda alifanya nini, but when she came in she managed us very well na akaenda. We are happy, we are even surprised. You see, if it were a man we would be very angry at the moment that wameshika boat zetu. But I want to actually go back to
but also even as you leave before you leave that topic on Suluhu, I think she's a very interesting woman.
Yes.
She looks so soft, but I think she's very firm and very cunning.
She has been in politics for
a very long time. Number one, she's an activist, a seasoned activist in Tanzania, not Kenya. A seasoned activist in Tanzania, a system that does not really give a damn to sunshine clauses zile zenye tuko nazo hapa kwetu. Kuanzia article 32 kienda mpaka kwa 37 huko kwao, huko ni it's like an opinion. So, having been an activist in Zanzibar from a Muslim background, she's quite seasoned. Two, she has grown through the cadres of CCM. CCM is quite a difficult thing to deal with. So she's not an easy one. She might speak softly, but I think she ascribes to what Ronald Reagan called that you speak softly and you walk with a big stick. She has got a big stick and speaks softly, and she's actually going far. You can actually see that. Anyway, some of those things lazima tusisahau ni hizi. What Ngunjiri has actually just told us here was very basic. That Tanga did not have a position, even as a group. They have packaged themselves and sold to us as a team that was bringing an alternative. They had their own stuff. They told us about Hustler, and they have taken about 3 years telling us how bad this thing is. But yesterday, they did not have a unified. There was not even whipping. There wasn't. So that goes back to what we have said before, that our biggest problem is not even bad leadership. It's politics without ideology. It's the mainstreaming of bad manners that people can get around and explain. You know, like he's gotten around, he's gotten an explanation, and he's actually escaping it, and he looks like it is right, and they are running away. But that said, does it then mean that the deputy president is also, even after his
lieutenants,
even after his baptism in fire, we have seen him come off as a man who really has been betrayed. he's also still cobbling up a machinery and a team that looks like other political parties, that for them, they are in politics for expediency. They want to win a position because they are able to win it, not because there is anything to do. But finally, this is my position. I think a majority, almost 90% of everyone who has called in is, number one, very sad with Ngunjiri's position. Even though some of us did not feel like Ngunjiri was serious, people are aggrieved. People are complaining, not just locally but everywhere else, which means that there is a critical mass of Kenyans who do not think that BBI makes sense. You know, when BBI came up, and a few of us, like myself and a few team of other people, we came up with a team called Tekeleza Katiba. Because for us, we thought everything in BBI, the 9-point agenda, can still be addressed in this constitution as is, except a few things like bringing down the wage bill, for example, especially in parliament and others. A majority of those things there can actually be dealt with. Bitok nataka nikuambia hivi, BBI ile kitu yenye inastahili pigiwe kura kwenda kwa referendum is about 5 to 7% of what BBI was tackling. Nini imezuia hii serikali, for example, to come up with the processes, kuanza kufulfill vitu kama ku-review the HELB Act, for example. Kupatia vijana the tax breaks zile zenye walikuwa wamesema. Hizo vitu zote zenye walipromise haziko kwa hii referendum, lakini hakuna mtu anashughulikia. If you want to know that BBI is a con game. Hizo vitu zimejaa hapo. No one is doing the policies, no one is reviewing the acts. There are some other small things that can already be done. Tungekuwa tunaona matunda inaanza kuja kuchini. By the way, they will actually have argued, wakasema, so unaona tayari tumeanza kufanya hizi vitu zingine zote. But both administrative, policy, and even legal stuff, there is no secretariat working on reviewing those laws, like hizo za taxes na hizo vitu zingine zote. There is nothing, no one is doing on programs, vitu zile za kusaidia vitu basics za kushughulikia. Mbona zinangoja, and yet they are not on the ballot. They will not be on the ballot. It goes back to our argument initially that BBI was about increasing the executive. It was about bringing in a bribe in the excuse ya Article 27. They have even taken away the mandate ya IBC, ya boundaries review and delimitation. They are running away with so many things. It's a necessary thing. And I think what we lack at the moment is sufficient leadership to muscle people around. And I need to say this as I finish, that the truth is that Orengo was not born in a good a background ile nyatikuwa alikuwa seasoned ni akakuja kupigana na hizi vitu. Even as a child I still remember that photo on the headline. Him, Martin Shikuku and the others. He was a young man putting on a sweater standing next to. So probably this is a challenge to millennials. Not probably. I'm a millennial myself. And I think the challenge to millennials out there is that it's not going to be anyone's call to rectify this. There's a joke we used to say when we were in Sunday school, that the Bible talks about the children of Israel fought the Anakites, they fought the Amalekites, the children of Israel crossed the Red Sea, the children of Israel suffered. So we would then joke and ask, where were the adults of Israel? Now, the young people of this country, and by the way, 13.7 million people, 13.7 million people who are the most educated this generation has ever had. There is no generation of young people in this country since the start of time that has been as educated as the youth generation we have today. Our fathers were not as educated as we are. Our grandfathers were not. Our great-grandfathers were not. They were not as exposed, educated, and empowered as we are. The call is that since we see that BBI is a joke, yes, it's meeting some other ends other than the ends that benefit the public. Can we mobilize ourselves? Anyone can do it. Orengo's mother alikuwa mtu wa kuuza. I'm using Orengo as an example. Today we want to point fingers at him as ametuuza. Hata Ngunjiri we are pointing fingers. He has said he's an old man. He's doing what is practical and what works for him and he's moving on. For those of us, and you know, for millennials, by the way, you are the people who are going to carry the biggest burden in this country because no other generation in this country has ever had a big national debt like the one we have today. No one. Okay. So it is up to you guys to organize and ensure that this thing is defeated, and it will be defeated two ways. Number one is that all of you either refuse to turn up to vote for it so that they don't meet the threshold. But knowing that these people ni mikora, they can pad hizo kura zingine zote. I would only opt for option 2. Come out in numbers and vote no, because if you don't show up they can cook numbers and still get that 25%. Hii watu ni mikora.
Watakaranga. Yeah. Wako na kitunguu tayari na sufuria na mafuta.
Wako na kila kitu. Hata washatengeneza stew.
Roda.
So, kwanza nikijibu kuhusu ziara ya Suluhu, I think first it was encouraging to see from the very onset when she was sworn in as president to Tanzania, to the Republic of Tanzania. It was very encouraging to see finally within the East African region we have a woman in the helms of power as president. And therefore, I agree she came on a much softer note than her predecessor did, because she's taking the approach where she's trying to, for lack of a better word, build the bridges that were somehow broken during the late Magufuli's time. However, I do agree with Arnold that there has always been serious mistrust between the two nations, especially the citizens. Sisi wa Kenya, we are seen as sharks. We have issues again with our self-interest and corruption. Also, the cost of doing business in our country is too high. But then, if you also look on the other end, the Tanzanian nation was built on concepts around ujamaa, the common good again. So that is why the mistrust will be there. As you had previously asked, was it Wawisho changed in the deal? I believe the events of the 6 fishermen is a direct answer to that question. Yes, I think to some extent
we're having the short end of this.
Yes, we so it'll take time, and it's not just within the our relationship with Tanzania and Kenya, but as well as with Uganda. Okay. Then, in response to the issues of BBI and the answers that have been given by Kunjiri or his defense with regards to the position he took, I will just give a short story of, the emperor's new clothes. When the emperor was conned and he was told that he's going to be clothed in new clothes, and every time they would walk by, they are told, your clothes are being made. But indeed, there were no clothes being made because it was a con. Even the people around the emperor, his advisors, his guards, his citizens, did not say anything when he walked out naked. The only person who pointed out, my emperor, you are naked, is a child. And that is because they are not beholden to some of the issues of social status. And that's why sometimes there was a philosopher who once said that we are usually born free, but everywhere else in chains. And I think that is what is also, that is what has captured Ngunjiri. He's born free, but he's currently captured in chains. Yeah, so he has to not go with the general will of what the people want. He has to go with the will of the few, and that's now the unfortunate bit. But that notwithstanding, I also agree. BBI had very many amendments to the current constitution, even when I think the goodwill to implement some of the articles of the 2010 constitution have not yet, the heart is not there. The willingness and the goodwill to implement some of those provisions or the principles of our constitution are not being met. Hence, as EKURU put it out, why not then, rather than complain, I would point out to him that I think I have diagnosed the problem. I just think that we need to sit down and educate, probably civic education. So that is the little part I will do. I will not put out myself there and say that I am ready to run for office. We know that is
I'm disappointed because I thought I found a running mate.
Tayari tulikuwa tunasema yeye ni le president na deputy. Dari uangusha maneno.
We know we know the challenges. We know the challenges of running for office in this country. You must be having the millions, and we are not there. I mean, I am not there yet. So I will do my little part. I will say this is what I think I have diagnosed. I will say probably we need to inform the citizenry on what, on the basic ideas of what government is, what their role is as citizens, and how they can every 5 years be more educated and more empowered to elect, a more responsible and a more sensitive government. So that is the role I will play. I don't know what the others will do. But when we look at issues like, I do recall also the for example, even in matters, there's been much discussion about the ombudsman of the judiciary being introduced and taking away the independence of the judiciary. But the question will be, as you are sitting down with the committee of experts and trying to harmonize the bill, you did already come up with the Council for Administrative Justice. Yeah. So why did we already take it out from a more independent, out there, and bring it back into the judiciary? Because I also believe we keep screaming that the judiciary needs its independence. I think to some extent the judiciary enjoys its independence. However, I think where they struggle is with regards to the judiciary fund, where how much comes to the judiciary is controlled a lot by the executive as well as the overall decision made by Parliament. However, the question then would be, in our structures, we said, when we are doing our checks and balances, if it does not work in Parliament, if it does not work at the executive, usually if you look at it, sometimes the judiciary also has a final say in some of the disputes that it's trying to resolve amongst these other two arms of government. So I say to some extent they have their independence, they have their tenure, which the security of tenure for judges, which they did not have before. They have even what now we call the judicial immunity. If anything, we have seen more people being purged out of the executive and out of the legislature than we have seen anyone being indicted for corruption or misconduct within the judiciary. So I say to some extent, probably we need to adopt, because we had the Magistrates and Vetting Board. They came up with a report, they presented it to President Uhuru Kenyatta. What were the decisions that were made there, so that now, rather than introduce the judiciary ombudsman, we find a way to have an independent judiciary that is also accountable. The same issues with regards also to a creation of constituencies. That is a role that has been purely given to the IEBC. It's not a mandate that can be shared by any other arm of government, or it is strictly for the commission. Okay. Why did the executive venture into that kind of exercise? But that being said, I think the only thing now left is, once we see that this bill is being passed in Parliament, I think now it is for Kenyans now to begin to decide. USA. Okay. We gave ourselves this constitution, then it is upon us to at least then defend it. Okay. And we can only do it using the vote. All right. Yeah.
Hi, EKURU. So, by the way, the issue of the BBI, the judicial ombudsman is actually not new. There has been a judicial ombudsman even from the onset of this constitution. Okay. I think it's just one of those sweeteners that BBI is known for, to try and lure every institution to accept its messy, illegal process. But anyway, having said that,
there has been.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There has always been. There's an office of the ombudsman.
Yes, there has been, but I thought that was introduced by Willie Mutunga during his transformative agenda.
Yeah, that's why some of these things,
which is post 2010 constitution.
Exactly.
Yes.
And which is why I think Arnold was right in saying a lot of the things that BBI is trying to propose are actually administrative, policy, and even legislative. Yes. Okay. So nothing stopped Mutunga from creating that office, because we already have the national ombudsman. Yes. So any institution ideally should have its own ombudsman. Anyway, two quick things for me. Yes. The issue of Suluhu Hassan visiting Kenya, I see it from a broader perspective. The relationship of Kenya, on the one hand, with its neighbors, but also the way in which Kenya, as a country and its leadership, protects Kenya's interests outside. Okay. I mean, I'm lucky I've worked in a couple of countries outside where Kenyans are, including South Sudan, Rwanda, you know. I noticed one thing. Kenya's political leadership does not follow its sovereignty. The sovereignty of a country extends beyond its national borders, and it follows its people wherever they are. In South Sudan, for example, I saw many Kenyans actually lose businesses. In Tanzania, the same thing. And why? Because Kenya has been so soft in protecting the interest of its own people. So if you look at the people who are trading mainly with these other governments and whose business are protected, is actually people in high hand in political circles. But kawaida mwananchi wa kawaida, they suffer a lot across border. I mean, even is it last year or the year before, Former Kufuli died, that they took away cows belonging to Maasais, from Namanga and the rest, and Kenya said nothing. So these countries know that Kenya's political leadership is not bothered about the kawaida Kenyan doing business out there. And that's the problem. And of course, like they are said, the problem with the Kenya and Tanzania has been there for a long time. But the person who suffers the most is the kawaida mwananchi who wants to go and sell their merchandise there. And I know Tanzania also don't like us that much. They actually, they always have like this kafir that Kenyans are, even call us land grabbers, especially on many matters. So I say that is, for me, the failure of leadership to protect our Kenyan interest. Okay. Lastly, on BBI, this is my political prophecy. BBI is another knack in the making. Wow. Yeah. All these people who are now supporting BBI, who are flip-flopping on BBI, to be honest with you, their main interest is one, to be in government. And they are going to create another knack using BBI. And Ruto is not innocent. Let's not lie to Kenyans that is innocent. I know that from Ruto's camp, there's a time they were not sure whether to oppose BBI or not to oppose BBI, because they said, let's wait and see. Maybe there is something in that BBI that's of benefit to us. So we go back to the drawing board. For who is BBI? Yeah? Whose interest is it supposed to serve? It is the interest ya mabwenyenye, as nothing to do with the kawaida mwananchi, and that's why they are ignoring even administrative issues, policy issues, legislative issues, which they could actually to fix the problems of mwananchi wa Kenya, wa kawaida. Like I said in the show, if this government for nearly now 10 years has been unable to just send 15% of money to the counties, why would Kenyans, are we mad to believe that now they will send 35%? You know? Uhuru has come out to say that we are losing 2 billion every day to corruption cartels.
That's the president.
That's the president of the Republic of Kenya. So, if you cannot recover, and I know Ngunjiri in a way is also lying here when he says that more money now will go to there and that we are going to stop cartels. What have they done about the many reports that have established? In fact, let's start with the Auditor General report. The Auditor General report shows that every year we lose about 700 billion to corruption. And this report comes to Bunge for debate. We've never seen parliamentarians, including Ngunjiri Wambugu, debate the Auditor General report and ask the executive of the arms of government to account. So it's a lie when he says that we are now going to stop cartels, you know. And like RHODA actually asked him, doesn't matter what name you give them. This is just theft. Corruption is theft of public money. So BBI, as I've said before, it's a lie. It's directionless. In fact, out of curiosity, let's ask this question. And maybe you should ask Ngunjiri if you're going to host him on Tuesday. Which bill did they vote for? Because now we know there were 3 bills out there. The Senate was debating a different bill. National Assembly was debating a different bill, and then there was a bill that went to about 13 counties, which was different. So which one were they discussing? And you see, we talk, as I said to you before, this is a directionless process. We don't know where we are headed with BPI, but I know for sure one thing, which direction we're headed. They are sending us to the cliff. Nukutu push to, and we are done.
Wow. Okay, all right. This has been the Thank you so much, lady and gentlemen, for coming in. We really appreciate you. And also, the guys who have been watching, we really appreciate the guys on YouTube. Thank you so much for the great things that you're doing on YouTube. We really appreciate you. And also on Facebook, nashukuru sana kuwaona. This has been the Tackle Sheria Wiki on Fari Daktari, EKURU, AUKOT, ARNOLD, MALIBA, na RHODA, KIBUNJA. It's been a pleasure having you. Until Monday, I want to wish you guys a very great weekend. Also, serikali imetangaza tarehe 14 mwezi wa 5 next week Friday kama holiday. So tayari unajua kwamba utakuwa na holiday mrefu. You'll have a very long weekend next week. So until next Friday on Sheria Wiki, and until Monday again on The Tackle, I want to wish you a very great weekend. Enjoy yourselves and take care. Mnajua mafunguliwa lakini msikunywe sana. Until then, take care. This has been The Tackle, and The Tackle is now. Bye bye and take care.